Hello, all you beautiful souls on the YouTube side of things. Hopefully, you're having a wonderful day or night. Ian and I are going to be doing another podcast talking about RPGs and stuff of that nature. Um, as you can probably see to the right of me, no, yeah, either right or left of me, where the chat is, says the name. Neko and Ian chat about RPGs and stuff. So mainly for the most part, from what I'm assuming we're going to be talking about, at least for a little bit, is the rogue mechanics in RPGs and specifically like Skyrim and Dragon Age, among other things that we were going to be talking about, which I will let Ian do that now, talk about the other stuff that we will be talking about. Yeah, I figured that way you could say the part that you want to say because I know you wanted to talk about like how Khajiits and like the other different race, how they have like how they would factor into like rogue stuff. But I also kind of wanted to touch on like other race and how they could potentially have different like traits specific to them, if possible. That's another thing I would like to touch on. Oh yeah, oh, no, that's what I'm saying. That's why I just kind of like generalized it as rogue stuff, meaning like their guild skills, like how they operate in certain cities and stuff of that nature. Um, but yeah, that's basically kind of what I wanted to touch on. Also, is like the guilds skills, how they operate in what cities, why they're able to operate in certain cities because of XYZ reasons, stuff of that nature. So for me, I'd like to start off, at least in my opinion, I'd like to start off in. I always like to start off in Skyrim because I'm biased towards Skyrim because obvious reasons being obvious. I have too many hours into it and I have way too much experience in mods and everything else to not want to talk about it. Um, for me, me personally, I feel like lock picking and pickpocketing could have easily been just one skill. Just branch off a little bit, like certain things under lock picking, like how making chests easier to open or finding more treasure in a chest. That's all lock picking really is, in my opinion. There's nothing really, oh my god, about it when it comes to lock picking. And pickpocketing is, again, similar in nature. You're just picking pockets of people that are in the city or wherever they may be. I don't really feel like they should have been two separate skills. Like, they should have been one skill, in my opinion. We have. Or security or something like that. or lack thereof. No, no, not at all. I didn't think about that. They would have definitely benefited better if it was under one tree. Like if I'm kind of like bouncing off what you just said, the starting area where it says for like the thief skills and the lock picking and pickpocketing, it literally says for novice locks are much easier to pick. And then pickpocketing bonus of 20%, item weight and value reduced pickpocketing odds. Could have easily have just been higher chance of um breaking locks and picking pockets. Could have easily just been like your first couple of ranks in that, and then something along the lines of, because like if you look at the lock picking tree where it says master locks, expert locks, adept, apprentice, and novice, all of those could have been under one perk. You just keep leveling it up, but you could have had that go coincide with light fingers because you're lock picking with your fingers and you're picking pockets with your fingers. So your hands would be quote unquote a deadly weapon when it comes to being a rogue by pilfering people's pockets and breaking locks quite easily and faster at the beginning stages. Well, at least one of the perks, yes. I wouldn't want to fuse speech into lockpicking and pickpocketing, though. And claws. And to kind of like bounce off that a little bit, in Kingdoms of Amalur, there's a way of doing auto lock picking I feel like Khajiits for novice locks should have like an 80% chance to just automatically unlock it with their claw, have an 80% chance of possibly unlocking or picking a lock just using their claw, and then if that doesn't work, then they can basically default to still lock picking. So that way it's not too overpowered in the beginning of the game, but it's still useful late game. But allow them to, the more they unlock on the novice locks, apprentice locks, so on and so forth, using lockpicks and everything, they should be able to use their claw as an 80% chance of automatically unlocking that pick because they got so used to doing it with the lockpicks that they can press their claw into it and just click it open. Give me 1 second. Thank you, Fogout, for the follow. I don't know why I didn't do an alert for it, but I appreciate that. Welcome in. Welcome into the graveyard. This isn't what I usually do. This is more of a once a month, maybe possibly more in the future, but I usually play RPGs and whatnot. I am today bleh, bleh, words. I am today words I can't think of at the moment with Ian doing a podcast um about RPGs and how we would like to fix them or how we would like to change RPGs as a whole. If you would like to give us your suggestions or ideas, we're more than happy to run rampant with them and see how we can incorporate it into a new RPG. I'm gonna give him a shout out real quick.
Yo, Rice, how you doing? Bro, I played so bad this game. This build sucks.
Oh, cool.
Bro, I'm no longer an Oni
I
main.
feel
I'm
like
just
I've
gonna
seen
become a
Fog
Catboy
Owl
main.
before somewhere.
Wraith for life.
You
Shut
probably
your
saw
mouth,
him
whoever did that.
hanging out with
There were scratch marks. I don't know where they are.
You're probably thinking of Panda. He usually hangs out with pandas.
There goes the play.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, Dwight.
Probably.
Nah. I'm taking one person out with me. Bro, I'm legit gonna have a heart attack one of these days. Once I have a heart attack.
Yeah, I don't know why the alert didn't go through though. Give me 1 second. I'm having technical difficulties. Sorry, everyone. What's up, Gene? How you doing? How is
Hey,
your day
Gene.
going?
Oh, what? Oh, is chat not up? I don't see chat. Shoot.
No, it's up.
Um,
DuckTales. Woohoo! How you doing,
it's
Ducky?
it's not on screen.
I
Okay.
may genuinely be a
Oh, there
zombie,
it is.
but I'm here
Okay.
to watch my favorite cat. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Hey, Gene.
You're not a zombie. Chilling. I'm still at
Also,
work,
hey,
but I'm gonna
Ducky.
vibe with y'all.
Hi, Puddin'.
How's it going?
Miss me?
Oh, now it wants to go through.
Hey, guys.
Why did it not work for Fog?
Give Gene and Ducky shout outs. I shouldn't be telling you how to do it. You know how to do your channel. I'm sorry.
Why is it not doing the thing for the thing? Oh no, I get the feeling like a zombie. Why? I don't know why the follows aren't doing the thing that they're supposed to do.
Oh yeah, we did it! We did it! Yes, 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 yes.
It's doing those, but it's not doing the other ones. Also, thank you for the 15 biddies. Thank you for the tickle biddies. I don't think Ducky streams that I know of, but I do know Gene does every once in a while. I don't know why
I
that's
feel
not
like
doing the thing it's
Ducky
supposed to
should
do.
get a shout out.
Uh, True, very true. But yeah, thank y'all both for stopping in. Like Ian said, we are talking about uh the thief archetype or thief skills and how we would like to improve them, along with the different race that are in many of games that are usually RPGs, and how we would like to maybe buff them, if you will, to allow them to be better thieves, or because their backstories allow them to be better thieves. I streamed one semi recently. Let me guess, within the last year at least. I kid. But yeah, another thing that's easily under lockpicking and pickpocketing is the skill that's under lockpicking called Golden Touch. I feel like that should be under pickpocketing and lockpicking because it literally deals with the hands and it allows you to find more golden chests. And I think there's one under pickpocketing that's like, what is it? Cut purse. Pickpocketing gold is 50% easier. They could literally make a skill called Golden Touch, find more golden chests, and pickpocket 50% more off of people. Like, that could have easily been one skill perk right there that's combined between the two skills.
So
Again,
let
that's
me
just me
ask you something.
personally, though.
Oh, sorry.
No, you good.
Okay, so let me ask you. So I know that I think you said at one point that you'd prefer not to have attributes, going forward like luck, strength, endurance, But I feel like luck is such a great mechanic in like Fallout and Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 3, and other games like that. I feel like luck you could have a lot of fun and do a lot of interesting thing with luck, especially for a thief build.
Appreciate the luck.
Um,
Well,
so
I would say if you're
because
gonna do luck, it can't. The problem with chance base abilities like luck. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. It's just when it comes to luck, most of the time in RPGs, it's chance based, and they suck at doing chance based things because it usually never falls in that chance because it's per instance, not over the course of time, having better and better luck and having a higher and higher chance every time.
no, I get that, but I mean, like I've said before, that's literally how statistics and odds actually work. But I get what you're saying.
Well, you got to think about the average gamer when it comes to criticals and luck and stuff like that, because
True.
criticals are under luck. And the thing is, Bethesda sucks at doing critical stuff when it comes to um like the weapon skills. Oh, blades have, I can go to it right now for one-handed. Um, which is it? Bladesman. Attacks with swords have 10% chance of doing critical damage, and it's off of your weapon's base attack. So, say if you have a weapon that has 100 damage, and the base of that weapon was, say, 5, it only does 5 more damage, and it has a 10% chance of doing 5 damage. That's why I personally don't like luck in video games, because it's usually never done right. But the few times it is done right, it's an amazing thing to have. But again, you would have to have the right people doing the right thing to do that, though.
So
And
I,
unfortunately,
yeah.
a lot of companies don't do the right thing at the right time for luck.
So I completely agree with you on that, and I'm glad you said specifically Bethesda, because the one game that I always think of that did luck really well for a luck build was the one Fallout not made by Bethesda, and that's Obsidian's New Vegas. Because when you spec into luck, you're absolutely golden. You're OP, and I think Obsidian did a marvelous job with that, because and it shows like you're saying that it's per instance and not over time. That's what annoys you. I agree with that from a kind of a fit, not kind of a layman's gameplay fan gamer as, aspect viewpoint. And if you do spec into luck in New Vegas, say you put 9 into luck at the beginning, well, you start off in a casino towards the very beginning. You're It's very obvious that 9 times out of 10 over time, you're nailing the roulette, games and you're winning. So I think that's a good example of them doing it right. Unfortunately, Bethesda is not Obsidian, and
Well,
so I
now
mean,
that they're actually working with them, though, because they're under the same company
well,
now.
yeah. So hopefully there's hope for that. Yeah. But I just think like, yeah. I mean, okay, that's a whole conversation in of itself. How do you improve luck
Luck in games.
luck how luck relate oriented you know mechanics, and I think that's more of a coding RNG issue than it is
Well,
something
no,
that
because they did good in Fallout 4 with the luck skill tree.
did they okay.
How you had a higher chance each time you put perks into, like, finding more bottle caps, finding more ammo in
That's true.
containers, having a chance of the wanderer to come over and just start popping motherfuckers in the head. Just literally coming out with a rifle, not a rifle. I think it was a I think they said it was a Smith and Wesson revolver, and just headshotting a few of the enemies in the field that you have targeted, and this wanderer will happen to be nearby because of your
Yeah.
luck, and just start popping motherfuckers in the head, and uh you have a higher chance of having people freak out because bodies are being blown up, because they're blowing up because of your bullets hitting a certain spot in the body and making them go splatter day, and they start to freak out. And then you have, like, building critical shots where it's a guarantee, but you're building that crit chance to make a perfect shot with, I think it was the, what was it, the leprechaun, that you can bank critical shots or something like that, or the Grim Reaper, I forget which one.
Something like that. Yeah, yeah. I know what
And
you're talking
correct
about.
me if I'm
The
wrong
Grim
in the
Reaper Sprint.
comments.
I think it's called the Grim Reaper Sprint, right?
I think so. Or it's either that or the Leprechaun. I know one of them does it. Correct me in the comments, please. Um, but that's what I was saying, though. Like, they did it good in Fallout because it was this very own skill, and it everything that was in that tree was specific to luck based things, RNG based things. I just don't want luck to dictate. Hey there, Pan. Here to support RPG School. I like Skyrim and
Hey,
Fallout.
Pan.
Fair enough. Actually, perfect person to ask. Did you play Fallout 4? If so, in the luck tree, what is the one that what is the skill called where you can save your critical shots? That you have a guaranteed 100% chance of shooting, say, part in the VATS system. I'm trying to figure out the name of that perk. I want to say it's the Leprechaun one or the critical. It's like a critical banker or something like that, or it's the Grim Reaper sprint. It's one of those. But like if they did it where it didn't touch like other abilities, like oh luck is based for your attacks that you might get a critical chance. I feel like you should be able to build up a critical bar instead of having a chance of a critical, but having a guaranteed chance of doing a critical because you built up enough of your quote unquote luck to get a guaranteed critical hit. At least that's my thought. Grim Reaper Sprint regens all AP, and that's as far as I remember. That's the one I was
Oh,
thinking.
that's right.
That was the other one. That was
Yeah,
the Grim Reaper Sprint.
yeah. Okay.
Um, it might have been just called Critical Banker to be honest, if I'm
That's
remembering correctly.
literally what I was about to say as well. Yeah, I think
Because
it's
I kept
called
saying
Critical
Critical
Banker.
Banker, and I'm like, I think that might be the name of the actual skill.
Um, and they do use, at least so far. I haven't gotten into like critical hits with guns, weapons, but I know you can bank auto successes for lock picking in Starfield. I don't know anything beyond that. I don't really know how it works.
I honestly don't know
But
how that works either, to be honest.
um,
Because I honestly I don't really want to talk about Starfield because it's still kind of new, and I
sure,
don't know
yeah.
much about it, and I don't want to say the wrong thing about it because I don't have enough time in it yet.
No, I agree. You know what? I agree with that. Let's refrain from that then.
Fair enough. Um, One thing that I want to say for like thieves and whatnot, when it comes to the different types of race, if anything, in my opinion, I feel like specifically when it comes to like the magic users of like Skyrim and Dragon Age and people that specify or like specialize in magic, they don't have time to either pick a lock. They should either have like some form of magic that helps them unlock it, or I have a fireball. There's a wooden chest. Burn. Like I should be
Yeah.
able to break the chest or burn the lock off it, if you will, or like they could freeze the lock off of it, or um zap it with electricity and it blows off of it because I don't know reasons, RPG reasons.
So I
But
agree with
stuff
that,
like
but I
that
think it.
for
Oh,
sorry,
sorry. Sorry. No, I cut you off. I didn't realize you were still talking.
I would say for mages shouldn't have to deal with lock picks, but if they had like say in the lockpicking skill tree it says mages have a such and such chance to break the lock, or warriors have a such and such chance to break the lock with a sword or a great axe or something like that, it would make it more RPG relevant to those type of race that have that are known for like being warriors, known for being mages or having high magic, like an Altmer or say a Nord or a Red Guard or something like that. They are known for being warriors, so they should be able to break the chest. And the same thing for like a high elf or a dark elf or something like that should be able to destroy the lock on the chest.
So okay, what you just said reminded me of two things. The first is that it reminds me of in the old Bioware Knights of the Old Republic games. If you weren't particularly skilled with, they called it security, I think, but being able to unlock containers, you definitely had the option to. bash the chest open with your melee weapon. Now, because they were BioWare made the earlier Baldur's Gate games, in which they were D&D games, so there was a two-hit chance, so it was RNG whether you hit it or not. You still had to swing a bunch of times, but eventually you're going to bash that open, even if you don't have a good security skill. So, maybe you don't need to do the RNG thing, but to hit it, but yeah, you should be able to bash strong boxes and doors open with enough force or with enough
Yeah.
repeated hits as a warrior, I think. The other thing is, yeah, I feel like high elves, for example, um, yeah, they don't need to bother with probably with lockpicks, but if I think they should, if I'm not mistaken, isn't doesn't alteration have, maybe it's not vanilla, maybe it's a mod, but have like picking lock, um because I know in Oblivion.
That's under the Apocalypse mod, by the
Okay,
way.
well, okay, yeah, in vanilla Oblivion, at least you were able to magic your way into chests and stuff. And I think, and I just, not that this is really relevant, but I think that a stealth kind of thief Altmer high elf would be really cool. Using magic to do all the stealthy stealth stuff instead of the actual physical mechanical tools.
And that's what
Um,
I was saying, and I agree with that.
the other thing I wanted to say though is, maybe it's just me, but wood elves, Bosmer, were always in my mind, the best like natural archers. They're of the forest, and it's kind of typically their archetype. They're woodsmen and um, archers. I feel like more they should be given more benefit of the doubt at also being stealthy. I don't think they should be quite as good as Khajiit at theft, etc. But I feel like remaining hidden, I think they should be close to that, and certainly on par with Argonians.
Speaking of Argonians, if you don't mind, um,
Sure.
they might not be the best thief, but under rogues, they are the best assassins because they have poison, natural poison resistance. They can infuse or coat weapons in poison, which I feel like they should have a maybe like a passive skill that they like you see in some of those weird movies and whatnot where the the crazy person licks their blade. They could
Hmm.
literally coat it in poison or acid that's inside of them from the hist to allow them to poison their daggers or to poison an arrow tip to fire off at someone and be like that type of assassin though. They might not be good at being a thief under the rogue archetype, but they would definitely be a damn good assassin under the rogue archetype.
So I completely and utterly agree with you. I think given their skill sets, they may be just a hair less like god tier stealthy, as naturally stealthy as in terms of thieves as Khajiit. But yeah, with all their cumulative skills, I think they are the better assassins. I agree. And one of my favorite one thing that I always loved in Skyrim is the story that, what's his name, Vizara, the one Argonian in the Dark Brotherhood. His story about being the
Vizier,
last
I
of the
think.
Vizira, yeah, the Shadow Scales. Um, the assassins that are bred from birth, born under the sign of the moon or whatever it was. Yeah, I think that's very cool. Um, in fact, one thing I always kind of thought about, when it comes to lizards in the real world, is that the most deadly um, toxin, so to speak, of any known animal that is Literally, the most fatal is not a snake or a jellyfish or anything like that. It's in fact the saliva of the Komodo dragon. That if they bite you, there's only, I think, one or two recorded examples in all of history of someone surviving. That's how they kill their prey. They kill freaking buffalo, lions, whatever. All they have to do is nip it, and eventually it'll die from infection. So the point being is that I always thought, like you were saying, it'd be cool if your Argonian could use their own saliva or blood or something to tip their weapons to kill people. I thought that'd be cool.
Another animal that I would like to point out is a poison dart frog that secretes a poison through its skin.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
a Argonian could, if they don't want to do it through like them licking the blade, they could easily say that they wipe the the sweat from their hand across the blade to allow it to have that poison. If they want to do it in a different way instead of using the mouth, they could easily use it from the sweat or the secretion from their palms across the blades or across the arrows that they're hitting their targets with to have a higher poison damage on their weapons or allow them to have like in Kingdoms of Amalur, they have a skill where you can automatically give poison to your weapons, or I think it was Dragon Age, I forget. I want to say it's Dragon Age that I'm thinking of under the Rogue, if I'm not mistaken. I want to say it's under the Sabotage. What is it? Not, is it Cheap Shot or is it Explosive Toxin? No, Poisoned Weapons. That's what it is. So, you coat your weapons in a deadly toxin, making every attack poison enemies for a short time. So you could say that the Argonians could have like a lesser skill that's similar to poisoned weapons, and they're constantly secreting this um type of like sweat or whatever like secretion that they have on their daggers or on their bow and arrows or on whatever weapon they're using at the moment to cause poison damage for say like 30 seconds is a lesser skill because they're able to secrete it for up to 30 seconds, and then it starts to dry out and then they have to wait for a cooldown to use it again,
Yeah, that sounds
if
really
that makes
cool.
sense.
I was thinking, um, on the Argonian in Skyrim, on your character, if you ever play one, where they on their face, on the side of their face, on their cheek, they have that one area that's like a circle. Like if you're ever messing with the colors and the skin tones, that one circle patch. You know what I mean? There's this
On
one part on the
Argonians?
cheek that's sorry.
You said on Argonians?
On Argonians, there's an area, there's a part of the skin pattern. It's just a circle. Um,
Yeah.
it's like the center of the cheek. I feel like you could make that the you know the poison gland maybe.
Well, I meant like if they don't want to have an animation going up to the face every time, they
Oh,
could
I
say that
see.
it's being secreted through the hands itself, is what I was
Sure,
saying.
sure.
That's
And
all
that's
I
a
meant
fair
by
point.
that. Because you
That's
know how
probably
they
fair.
are when it comes to animations, they don't like to do a lot of them. So that's what I was thinking. If they had it just
Yeah.
literally being secreted through the hands, that way they don't have to do anything. They can say, oh, it's being secreted through the hands and it's dripping down the blades for like 30 minutes. And then if you want to like have like say you could give them an extra skill that they could learn through either alchemy or something like that that stacks with their natural ability of adding poisons. It could be a like a perk that says all poison effects last an extra say 10 seconds, so
Oh,
they already get 30 seconds. They get another 10 seconds from a perk through alchemy because they're dealing with poisons and everything. So that means they get even more chances to attack with that poison because they're so used to effectively using it that the blades hold on to the poison for a longer period of time after their 30 seconds of secreting that poison, you could say that because they got that perk, that their body became more effective or more used to secreting more poisons for a longer period of time, which allows them to get an extra 10 seconds through that perk.
Yeah, that sounds cool. That sounds like a good way of doing it. I was also thinking, you know how they have the animation for if you're a vampire feeding on actually no, I'm thinking of Harkon when he feeds on you. Or are you able no, I'm thinking yeah, you're a vampire or a werewolf and you're either able to feed on somebody or like bite them. I think that for Argonians, you should be able to poison, you do extra poison damage when you bite them.
Now,
Just
you're saying
random
like,
idea.
so like, if you were to give them like a secondary ability, like
Yeah,
two
like you
lesser
should be
powers,
able
one
to
to poison weapons and a second one to bite enemies and inject venom into
yeah,
them.
yeah, so like what you could do is you could offer the option like do you want to be, you know, kind of full on non-stealthy, full on warrior, full frontal assault type
Well, no, I still think they
warrior
should get both though, but they should be
poison.
lesser powers
Okay,
with
what I'm trying to say is
cooldowns.
sure. What I'm trying to say though is that I think that um you could the way they could do it is you could offer the player the two options, however you do it in terms of lesser powers, of use poison in terms of off the hands onto your weapon, or up close and personal poison, meaning say you poison the barbs on your tail to do a tail whip, or you poison your teeth to bite them. Maybe that could be a cool way to do it, like stealthy versus non-stealth. I don't know.
I would still say that if you bit someone, it could still be stealthy, because say if you sneak into a room, you have like this like Argonians when they enter stealth, they get like a passive of like say 30 seconds of camouflage that they become invisible like a
Hmm.
chameleon. They can
Yeah.
go into stealth, go up to someone, bite them, and go back in like they're still under that 30 seconds to run away, and they just have this
Oh, okay.
like poison coursing through the enemy's veins, and
Yeah.
they're like
Okay.
the wind, it was the wind basically, and they have this like venom just slowly coursing through their body, and they eventually keel over because of the sheer volume of poison or venom that they injected into their enemy.
Oh,
So you can
I
still be
really,
stealthy, but
yeah.
you're just doing it in a slightly different way.
So I actually
Say
really
it's not
like
like
that
an
idea. My,
actual bite, but like kind of like how a snake literally just bites and then it snaps back in that same second. It still got the fangs into you, injected the venom, and then shot its head backwards. The same thing an Argonian could do, could sneak up, bite real quick, will move away, and then just kind of like quote unquote slither away into the shadows again.
yeah.
And that person is none the wiser that they got bit, or they feel like a slight pain there. You're in a caution mode now, and they're looking for you, and this person is slowly taking venom damage instead of poison damage, so that way it can't stack off of something else that does poison damage. So that way it's very unique to the Argonian. Because there's,
So I,
in
oh,
my opinion, most abilities aren't unique to the race anymore, because other race can get that effect through either alchemy, enchanting, or some other way, and it would allow Argonians to be properly unique in their fighting style.
so I really like that idea, and it sends my mind kind of racing with the possibilities. Like you could be able to level up the um kind of like you do there with the Dragon Age abilities, poison rogue abilities. You could level up the amount of damage over time, and you know how quickly it acts, or either damage over time or kind of initial. You know, it could be either more damage over time, or it could do like be a frenzy um poison. Any think of any poison effect in the game already. It could be, um, you know, knock you out. It could be lethal. It could be, it could be,
So hear me out.
enthralling. Sure.
Just kind of like piggybacking off what you're saying. So say if my earlier instance was if you're in stealth, it takes a longer time to get through the person, but it does more damage over the time. The longer you're in stealth, the more poison damage they take. As long as you're in stealth, they take more venom damage. Now, if you use that same venom bite in combat, specifically in combat, this way you can still have your cake and eat it too. If you inject venom into an enemy during combat, you can say theoretically you could alter their mind to fight for you while giving them venom damage over the course of say like 30 seconds because it's in combat because you use it in combat. It is 30 seconds of continuous venom damage over that time. Say 5 damage over the course of 30 seconds. 5 times 30 is 150 damage. All right, so they're going to take 150 damage, and they become a quote unquote follower for 30 seconds fighting on your side. So that way you could either A, run away, or B, stay in the fray and bite other people as long as your cooldown runs out in the time that you're in that fight, and you can potentially bite someone else to join your side.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And in fact, what that sounds exactly like is the perfect combination of the two necromancer abilities in Dragon Age, which is Walking Bomb Virulent, which is uh, kind of damage over time, which can then spread to other enemies, and also the Spirit Mark, which is kind of the flip of what we're saying, where you mark an enemy, and when they die, they fight for you for 30 seconds. So that's kind of like a combination of those two, I think,
Oh, no,
where
no.
they take
I'm not saying it spreads to other enemies. I mean, you have to physically bite another enemy.
Okay, sure, but what I mean is, okay, what I mean is, sure, like to go over to the left to Spirit Mark, and yeah, so basically, you poison someone, they take damage, and while they're dying on the inside, they're also fighting for you.
Yeah,
And
that's
I
what I
think,
mean.
yeah, but my thought is, what if, what if we go full on zombie kind of idea here, where
So if
while
they
they're
die with the
fighting,
venom in them, they can come back to life and fight for you.
no, 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 okay, well, that's a possibility, but what I was thinking more
Actually, that's
was
creepier.
while they're poisoned, if they will attack someone else by biting them, and if that person it then also becomes poisoned, and
I
so
get what you're
everybody in the
saying.
fight, then at the end they all die.
You're not saying zombie as in rising from the dead. You're saying as in the effect of a zombie biting something else,
Spread.
and that becomes a zombie. But instead,
Yeah. So
the venom that's
yeah.
coursing through their body, they bite something, and that venom transfers a little bit to the next target, and they too have that venom flowing through their body for up to, say,
Sure.
a
Yeah.
lesser
And to
amount for,
keep
like, say, 15
sorry.
seconds.
Yes, I was just gonna say that. Like you could do a diminishing return, so it's not too OP. So every additional link in that gets additional transferred is less potent.
I would say you would have. Well, the thing is, after 15 seconds, it becomes negligent because it would be like 7 seconds and then like maybe 3 seconds. So I would say it can only transfer one extra time. So that way you get that 15 seconds. It still feels useful and it doesn't feel like you're no longer getting returns on, like, say, the third or the fourth victim of that first victim. Do you see what I'm saying?
I do, and if you want to be really kind of cheesy about it, you could do the whole thing where like some other un, somewhat mostly unrelated perk tree that has an ability that lets you boost the, like for example, restoration has necromage, which boosts the time of all of your status effects. that could then increase it by 25-50%.
Well, the thing is, when it comes to the different race of Skyrim, or at least the way that Skyrim does it, I don't feel like they do it in a way where it's unique. And the way you're saying it makes it no longer unique because,
That's
well, I'm
yeah.
not saying that it isn't unique. I'm just saying it, to me it feels like it's not really that unique because yeah, you're buffing it to make it better later on in the game, but at the same time, it it kind of feels like it becomes cheapened because it's going stronger. I want it to be like set in stone type thing where this
That's fair.
ability does this. Now, if you had it set to where it wasn't set to skill trees, but say every 5 levels, that the duration lasts a little bit longer because they're much stronger, and the um the number of quote unquote targets increases by 1 for every 5 levels. So, say by the time you're like 30, that's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. That's 6 levels. That's 6 more targets. It's gone up by, say, an additional 10 seconds for every level. So, that's another 60 seconds. So, that's a minute and a half that your first zombie, quote unquote, your first victim can start biting other people in the field. That way it becomes more stronger and it still stays contained specifically to the Argonian's ability.
So I can first let me say I completely agree with you. One thing, like a big thing that frustrates me about Skyrim that used to be a lot that you that they used to do much better in the earlier Elder Scrolls games was making races feel unique, and that's really important to me. So I agree that would be a better way to do it. And regarding that, one thing I think they should really do a better job with is there's so much amazing lore and deities and all the various divines and Daedra and Aedra that the various races worship. They need to bring something into it like what's it called the what's it called, not Winter Sun, is it not winter, is it Winter Sun
Imperious
where
races?
no where you worship to your various to your deity, you have to worship regularly, you have to follow tenets.
Winter
Not
Sun. I never
Andromeda.
use it. That's why. It's Winter Sun. I
Okay.
don't use it because of that reason.
Okay, well, what I'm trying to say is say it's optional, right? But
Yeah.
say if you go back to say there's a history somewhere in the world, as long as you go back to that once a week or something, whatever the time frame, you get a small boost to your abilities. That's unique to Argonians, and that would boost your abilities not by much, but note a little noticeable, and it's lore friendly.
Well, that's the thing. When it comes, if we're going by the lore, technically Argonians have the hist in their veins. So
Yes,
technically
but
speaking, they are the hist.
no, I agree with that. But the trees still are in charge. So by paying respects to the tree, maybe you can get some sort of minor boost. I don't know.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. The stronger the level, it's based on your levels. That way you can level up, and it makes when you level up, it makes your character, your Argonian, your XYZ fill in the blank on the race, that much stronger because they're staying true to their race effectively by using the Argonians bite, or you could even call it the Argonians bite or the hist bite or something like that. And the more they use it and the more they level up, the stronger it gets because they're dedicating themselves to the hist more and more by using that hist bite.
Okay, I see what you're saying, and yeah, I agree with that. And can we, if you'll indulge me for just a minute, I'm a huge fan of Argonian lore just as much as I am for Khajiit. Can we just take a moment to appreciate the fact that the Hist are the only ones that saw, like, I know you may not be as familiar with Oblivion lore, but in Oblivion, um, the Hist saw the invasion by the forces of Oblivion coming and directed all the Argonians to actually preempt it. And the Argonians invaded Oblivion, and they actually held off any forces coming into Blackmarsh, which is their homeland. So
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool.
And I agree with that. That is actually pretty cool. Now, I kind of want to talk about like the different race and like how we would make them quote unquote more unique to their own. Like how
Absolutely.
we've been doing with the Argonian,
Sure.
giving them a hist bite, allowing them to secrete a type of poison onto their weapons, but giving a venom, specifically wording it as a venom for their bite, so that way poison abilities don't stack with it.
Sure.
Because again, I want to make it as unique as possible to the Argonian. I
Yeah,
feel
that
like the
sounds good.
Argonians should have something that is very specific to them, and each race should have something super specific that ties into their lore. And I kind of want to talk about Khajiit because I always play Khajiit. I like
That's
cats.
fine. Yeah.
And me personally, I feel like an ability that would be perfect for Khajiit would be Lightfoot, where all times they are permanently muffled, meaning they don't set off traps. They can walk through traps because they're light on their feet, or if they go through a tripwire, they have like that animalistic sense, or that I guess, because like if you ever look at a cat walking down a hallway with a bunch of bottles on the floor, they will walk past every single one of them without even looking half the time, because they can feel it with either their whiskers or like the fur that's on their paws. They can glide right past it every time. So I feel like if you're gonna make a proper thief out of a Khajiit, they don't hit tripwires, because same reason. Just like all cats are able to walk down an entire hallway full of bottles and everything without hitting a single bottle, because they just naturally know where they are. They don't trigger uh, the floor plates, and they are always muffled. And you could call it something like Khajiit Lightfoot or something like that, that is specific to the Khajiit. But you could potentially do that with perks. So maybe something like, what would you give Khajiit that's very specific that you can't replicate using perks? Because you could replicate that with perks eventually through the what is it, through the sneak skills, if I'm not mistaken, like the silent, what is it, the Lightfoot doesn't trigger pressure plates, um and muffle and silence and all of that are literal perks.
Hang on, Miss Sneeze. Just a sec.
I think, what could you give Khajiit that would make them more unique? Because I do like the idea of giving them a active skill that allows them to, no, that would be a passive skill to lock picking, but I want to give them something that they can use in combat though.
So, so first off, let me say, Khajiit are by far my favorite race, and in particular, um, I love what Imperius does with them, and specifically, they have a number of abilities. They at all times move, they walk 15% fast, and I'm just listing what it does. I'm not saying these are exactly what I would do in the next game,
Okay,
but you move 15% faster, you sprint 40% faster. Um,
I can see
uh,
that.
when you are crouching, you can leap great distance and height using stamina, which consumes stamina. I
Which
love
makes
that.
sense.
Like you can jump onto second floor, build a story, build ledges and stuff. There's another thing where once you like, because they're known to be merchants and thieves. Once you accumulate something like 50,000 gold, you get one per point. I think it's something like that. I think that as we talked about, lock picking should be a thing. Easy lock picking, like for novice locks. I think I really want to incorporate the moons. I want there to be something where, when it's nighttime and both moons are in perfect alignment, you get a very unique.
Well, I wouldn't say perfect alignment because you would want to be
Well,
able to use this at all times. I would just say at nighttime.
okay, sure. Well, let's say at nighttime, sure. Say from you know,
6 p.m. to 6 a.m.
I was literally going to say that. Yeah. Yeah. Say I don't know, prices are 20% something. I don't know. Or um, so like some sort of like detect life um or
I have a good one.
what?
So, okay, going off of like how the hist bite levels up as you level up, right?
Yeah.
Say for instance, for a Khajiit, they're known to be lone warriors in the battlefield, right?
Yeah.
And they only work with other Khajiit usually. So hear me out. Say if whenever combat starts, you can have up to at level 5 up to level 5 and so on and so forth. You get an extra additional saber cat or another Khajiit race like type NPC that will come to aid you in battle and will stay there after battle for 30 seconds. But as long as the battle draws out, as long as the battle is there and you're in combat, the Khajiit or like Saber Cat or what have you is there to help you fight in combat. So you literally can become a one man army at say like level 30, for instance. You would have 6 companions with you effectively in combat.
Oh, I really like that.
Because yeah, they're thieves, but they're also known for being solo acts. But what if we were to say because at night specifically they hide in the grass, quote unquote, they hide in the tall grass until combat initiates, then they come out of the grass to aid you in battle.
Yeah, I really like that. You know, another thing you could do. So, and this will address how at the very beginning of the game, your claws, meaning unarmed, is does slightly better damage than your base weapons, but then
Mm-hmm.
it just is left behind in the dirt. I would think it would be cool
It was to
if they
level
did a
up
thing
with
where.
you.
So what? Well, yeah. First of all, they need to scale it, but one cool thing they could do is say okay, say from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. as long as you're either with another Khajiit as a companion, which they need to put more of, or
They do.
alone, your unarmed claws do as much damage as say the weapon that you have stored as the last weapon you use melee. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't say that. I would have it set to where, or at least in my opinion, if you don't mind, I would
Sure.
say it starts out at what, like 12 damage or like 15
I
damage. I
think so.
forget.
Yeah.
I think it's like 15 damage in the base
Yeah.
game. So say every level it gets an additional, well, not every level, every 5 levels you get an additional 5 damage. So by the time you're
Well,
level 30, that 15 damage just went up 30 points, which becomes now 45 damage, which would scale
okay,
with most
but
dagger with most Daedric weapons.
I mean that's true. I was thinking about, yeah, but does it get left behind when you incorporate crafting and such?
Well,
Um,
that's what I was just about to get to. For every Khajiit that is with you, using the other skill I just said, where they quote unquote hide in the tall grass and they're there at all times, but when you initiate combat, for each one of them, you get an additional, say, 5 damage. So that's
yeah.
now that 30 damage, plus for each one of them, you get an additional 5. So that's now an additional 5 times 6 is 30 damage. So now it's 60 damage you're adding onto your claws, plus the initial 15. So now you're at 75 damage per swing. But to
I
make
like
it
that.
that much
Yeah,
more deadly, let's
I like that.
add for every 5 levels, you increase the speed of your unarmed attacks by say, so it doesn't
20,
become
like
too powerful,
10% or something.
2.5%. No,
Sure.
2.5%.
Okay.
So that way, for every 5 levels, it's an additional 2.5% speed. Because say once you're level 100, it's going to be 250% speed.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I
That's what I'm
really
saying.
like that.
If you do it that way, their claws are literally deadly weapons the stronger they get. So you would literally be thinking, do I want to use a weapon? Or should I just beat the shit out of them with my claws? Because I'm already going fast with my claws. I'm doing deadly damage. I have my Khajiit my followers effectively. And it's like you literally become um this like deadly weapon effectively. Like not only are they a thief, but they're now somewhat of an assassin or like a brawler, because that's what they are at the end of the day. They are the archetype of a rogue. They're stealthy, they are strong, they're fast, and it gives them that edge in combat because most Khajiit are known for being thieves, but this would basically flip it on its head and make them that battle brawler to go into a combat situation like, oh, you thought I was alone? And then you just see these fucking lions or whatever Khajiit come up, be it either like a saber cat, another Khajiit, like there's like the scale for Khajiits goes from like almost domestic house cat to this hulking tank that is, I think it's like 8 foot tall, and it's like a brawly looking Khajiit, and it's like you could have like one of those. The stronger and higher level you are, the higher chance you would get of one of these troll looking Khajiit come out, and then you just see them come up from the shadows, and then you just all initiate combat basically.
So I really like that. Another couple of ways I think you could enhance that optionally are depending on your stealth skill, or maybe under the unarmed skill we should have. You should be able to, and only, and I mean this only from the kind of, okay, I'll just say it. You
Well,
should
that's
be
what I'm
able
saying.
to level. What?
Sorry, I'll wait.
No, no. I was just gonna say the two things I would add to that. You should be able to your initial attack, meaning your stealth attack. You should be able to get up to maybe, I would say, max 3 times sneak attack damage with your claws, but no higher. And then once you're in combat, that goes away. But the initial strike should be, a modest sneak attack damage because that's what they're good at. They're sneaking and stealth. And then the other thing is, I think that you should be able to apply poisons if you're adept with alchemy to your claws and have up to maybe say if you spec into it three two subsequent hits, total of 3 hits with your claws with the poison.
I would say no to that because then that makes Argonians not as unique as they would have been. Because they're
Well,
secreting the poison onto their claws and attacking with it.
no, but that's why I was saying earlier Argonians should be able to. Okay, let's put it this way: Argonians should be able to produce because lizards, iguanas, whatever, do naturally produce poison, very very lethal poison. You should be able to level. I think you should be able to level your Argonian poison, your unique Argonian poison, to be just as powerful, if not more, than what you can easily do with alchemy, but restrict it to Argonians. And then
Well,
with
I agree with that, but the thing is, if you're gonna allow other like different race aside, say like not even just Khajiit, but like just in general, like allow them to use this poison that you're about to say, like you were about to say for Khajiits using it on their claws to allow them to get 3 hits with this poison, you just cheapened what the Argonian had for their poison claws. Do you see what I'm
well,
saying? I want that to be
well,
unique to the Argonian so that way
okay,
Khajiit don't have poison claws because that's an Argonian thing. Do you see what I'm kind of saying?
okay, well then that's fair. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Well then, why don't Okay, well then, um,
Because if the reason why I was saying for the Khajiit having the speed and the increased damage over, like
oh, the
the increased
speed,
damage
right, right,
as they
right.
get leveled up, they're able
Okay,
to say at the beginning they get like 2 hits off in a couple of seconds. So they're doing, say, the 5 with one of the companions, and level 5 they get 5 damage. So that's an additional 10 damage to their original 15, now becomes 25. So they're doing 50 damage in a couple of seconds. But once they hit like level 30, they're getting 75 damage in 2.5 times 6, which is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 12, 13, 14, 15. So an additional 15% speed. Say you're getting like 4 hits off in a couple of seconds, and that's 75 times 4, which is 600 damage. Do you see what
no,
I'm
I see what
saying?
you're saying.
So
I
they're
do.
already going to scale high enough where poison's not going to really help them much.
That no, that's fine. That's fine. I'm sorry. I just
Like, I
thinking.
get what you're
Yeah, yeah,
saying,
you're right.
but you're kind of cheapening the
Okay,
the
but you're right.
Argonians.
The if you take into account the increased speed and then the teammates, yeah, I see what you're saying.
So that, at least in my opinion, I feel like Khajiits are already going to be strong enough late game and mid game and early game just using their claws. So they don't
Right.
have to worry about becoming a smith or becoming like really good at making weapons. All they got to worry about is making armor, and that's it.
Okay.
Now, I kind of want your opinion on how would you change the Nord? Let's switch it to something, to one of the race that we don't really care for. Because we both care for the Argonian and the Khajiit.
Well,
We both like the Beast race. Let's face it, we both like the Beast race. So if we were to choose like a
so
Nord,
this
how
is
would you
just right.
fix that?
Yeah, this is just right off the top of my head, but I feel like after the events of Skyrim, just in terms of the world,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, especially because of Windhelm and situation like that, I feel like Nord should suffer a maybe 10 to 15% um, um, what am I trying to say?
Well, then nobody's going to want to
Prices
play
are
it. No one's going to
well,
want to
no.
play as a Nord then.
Well, listen. You know what I'm saying? 10 to 15% prices are higher among beast races vendors, and I think that's fair. And say until a significant point in the plot, or say if you're in, say, I don't know, because like I just think that there needs to be consequences for the strife that the civil war and the treatment of beast races. I mean, what goes around comes around. It shouldn't be like, and just among beast race vendors. You know, I don't know. Um, Maybe
Okay,
that's an
so
unpopular.
in my opinion, I don't think there should be a debuff to any of the race, because, at least in my opinion personally, I don't feel like that's fair to them to cheapen one race, because then, honestly, the way you're saying it, I would never pick a Nord then,
I
because
would already never pick a Nord.
well, that's what I'm saying. If you had to make a Nord where they're good in combat, like how would you change the way they fight in combat? Hey there, Red
Okay, well
Panda.
let me. So this requires some thought. I apologize.
So one thing I was thinking of, if we're going by lore and how they do, um, what's it called? The way they do Nords most of the time is their connection to the ancestors, to their ancestors, and gaining strength. So
Yeah.
what I was thinking is, again, for every 5 levels, the more enemies that they kill, that basically the more prowess that they have in combat, the stronger they get, the harder they hit, and the more damage they can receive because of their Nord ancestry allows them to become stronger. And I'm about to give
Bucky
Red
died.
Panda a shout
Bucky
out.
did not die.
Good.
I'm gonna wait for the
Died.
shout out to be done.
No one, don't
Chat, who
worry.
died?
Oh god, not Hyperfang again.
Hyperfang.
Chat, who died?
Fro won't tell.
You have 5 of the viewers. That will tell me.
I don't think so.
I was about to stream some
Neon?
Pokemon. Nice.
Who died?
I don't think he's here. I think he actually might have gone to bed.
Well, so I have a thought on that.
Okay.
I have a thought.
So while you do what you're doing, which I'm not entirely sure, the one thing I wanted to say real quick is having like an ancestor background that the Nords do have, allowing them to be more true to their ancestors and not what they are seen as the Stormcloaks specifically, not Nords, but Stormcloaks is what were referring to earlier. Because not all Nords are like that. Because you have the Greybeards, they're Nords. They don't care about the conflict of the war or anything. They're neutral and they're Nords. So I feel like the Nords should have like a connection to their ancestors and make them better in combat. Say using like the weapons that they're using, as long as they dedicate to a specific weapon, that specific weapon becomes stronger the more often they use it, and they get they get tankier and they can do more damage as long as they stay with a specific armor from the start of the game and a specific weapon from the start of the game.
So I like that idea, and while you were saying that, I kind of came up with a couple of thoughts.
Okay.
I like that, and here's so you know how in Dragon Age
Yeah.
you have the Reaver class. In Reavers, to me, so it's basically the more damaged you are, the more health you've lost, the more damage you do.
Yeah.
And in terms of like what you were saying, uh, Nords are literally like berserkers. I mean, Vikings were berserkers. Light armor, big ass weapons, fueled by blood rage. So what I think a way you could do that is a few things. Say, okay, three things just come to mind immediately. For every 20 enemies you kill as a Nord, so what I'm trying to say, for every 5% health you're missing, you do 5% more damage. But initially there's a cap of just 5%. For every 20 enemies you kill, that cap gets raised by 5%. And then eventually say you kill a say you get to a certain point, and then you start having multiplication. So say you've killed 100 enemies, you start increasing it to 10%. So for every 5% health you're missing, or you can even do it that way. Say the first five, for every 5% health you're missing, you do 5% more damage. After 20 enemies, after for every you killed, for every 5% health that you're missing, you 10% more damage. And then, like you were saying, you could do it where, as long as you're, for every, say, 20 melee, or every 20 hits you take with the same set of armor, that armor does 5% more protection. Without, not smithing, not perking into armor, it just does 5% more protection. Then after 40 hits, it's it increases to, it starts increasing, and then you have a kind of a geometric increase over time based on your, would that is that kind of what you maybe were thinking?
Well, now that you bring up the Reaver, and personally, I don't like when games do percentage. I prefer a flat base rate.
Okay.
So I'm gonna kind of carry off your the armor thing that you were thinking of or that you were saying. So hear
Okay.
me out. Instead of it being tied to a specific armor, right? Say if they're quote unquote hardy constitution, which they always brag about. Say if
Yeah.
for every hit they take up to for each say for each 5 levels, because I like so far I'm liking this every 5 levels they get stronger and stronger. So that way you actually want to level up your character. You want that
Yeah.
strength that comes from every 5 levels. So say for instance, for every 5 levels, their hardy constitution, they get an additional just flat rate armor bonus of like say 10. Even if they have no armor on, they still have 10 armor just because of their hardy constitution. So say by the time they're level 30, that 10 just became 60. They automatically have 60 armor without armor on. They would have 60 armor rating right off the bat, right out of the gate, right off the bat. And if they put armor on, they get stronger with that armor. Like the armor doesn't get stronger, but their natural body becomes stronger because they're in combat more. The more they're in combat, the more they're taking hits, that hardy constitution that they have becomes stronger. So every 5 levels, you could say that's the lore reason why every 5 levels their armor goes up because of their hardy constitution.
Okay.
Same could be said for their weapons. Say it's not tied to the weapon, but the quote unquote muscles that they have, because most Nords you see in the game, they're buff as hell. Granted, in my opinion, they don't look good, but then again, I don't like really buff guys. But say because they're so used to swinging a weapon around, their hardy constitution or their Nordic hardy constitution allows them to swing the sword harder or like with more intent behind it to give them more power behind it. So again, they get an extra 10 damage, just flat base damage to any weapon they use that is not a dagger, but say if it's like a one-handed weapon or two-handed weapon that's not daggers, because that would like say for like your sword and board. So it's like any swords, maces, or axes. Again, great swords, war axes, and war hammers. That those get that bonus, but daggers do not, because you don't really see Nords with daggers. So anytime they get more levels, they get more damage with more damage output with those weapons. So they don't have to smith it, but they just get a natural boost to it because of their quote unquote hardy constitution.
Yeah, I really like that. You could call it Troll's Blood,
Well,
where
no,
that's
I
what
was
they
I was
do
gonna
in.
go with Nordic Constitution or something like that.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
that way it's really more unique to that race, to the Nords.
Sure. That makes sense.
And the only other ability I would give them is maybe like a Nordic battle cry, which intimidates quote unquote the people that are in combat with them. Say they lose like this is the only time I like percentage really is like they would lose 5% combat like their weapons are 5% weaker, armor's 5% weaker. But like this is just like a general lesser skill that they can use as a battle cry like they did in Skyrim,
You
where
could also
it
give them
doesn't
like
like
a.
increase, but like where it stays at 5%, or maybe every like 10 levels it goes up an additional 5% and caps out at 50%, and the enemies are up to 50% weaker. Their armor's 50% weaker or more frail, and magic damage is 50% weaker, something like that.
You could also do starting at. I like that a lot. You could also do starting at level 1. Battle Cry has a 1% chance to stagger nearby enemies, capping out at 10% at level 100.
So like for up to once you hit like so like basically every 5 levels you get an additional what 1% because
Yeah.
no yes
No, wait, no.
no that would equal up to
Um,
50% stagger chance
oh
at
shit.
level 100. So yeah, so you could literally do 1% every 5 levels,
Yeah.
and that's 50. That would be because 5 times 10 is 50. So if you were to do that up to level 100, then yeah, it would cap out at basically 50%, I think, if I'm doing the math right.
Sure. Sure.
And
And
that
I
way they
think
have a
that
50% chance to either stagger or like maybe go into a quote unquote prone state where they drop down to one knee or something
yeah.
because they see this crazy madman come onto the field, some
You know
crazy
what
ass Nord, and they're scared of that they're going to have what happened in Skyrim happen here now.
you know what you could also do? Every 10 levels, you get an additional 1% chance to intimidate them to flee. So at level 100, it's 10%. Sorry, my bad. What am I trying to say? Sorry, every
Can I suggest
crap. What I
something?
meant, sure,
All right, so say instead of it being one or the other, say if they're that hardy warrior, they have a chance to stagger, but it's either a chance to stagger them or it's a chance for that enemy to flee. So it's a 50-50
okay,
chance that they'll stagger or flee. If the people that are fleeing, then you know they're the weaker ones and you can take them out later. If you see the one stagger and drop down to one knee, you know you need to take
yeah,
that person out first. Is that fair? That way you
yeah. I
get
think
both
that's kind of
abilities.
yeah. I think that's kind of really what I was trying to go for, and I think that would look really cool in gameplay to have a few of the enemies staggering, the rest, some of them fleeing, not all of them, but like a mix of the two. You know?
Oh no, that's what I'm saying. You have a chance for either, but it affects everyone in a certain radius where they either flee, stagger, or it doesn't affect them. But the doesn't affect them will say maybe it's like a 10% chance won't affect anyone, but it'll be
Sure,
like
but
a
like
45% chance and another 45% chance to either make them flee or stagger, and then a 10% chance that nothing will happen to them and the battle just carries on for them.
But yeah, but I think I wasn't sure if I made it clear. I want it to be per enemy, so there's a chance that different two different enemies next to you might one might flee, one might stagger, and one might do nothing.
Or what if it's distance based? The closer you are, the more likely you're to either flee or stagger. The further you are, the less likely you are to stagger or flee.
You know what you okay? I like that. You know what you could also do?
Because,
You
like, say
could
if you go
have
to
it
a fort and someone's like in the tower shooting arrows, they can't hear that shit. So they're not going to flee. They're not going to
sure.
stagger. They're just going to keep shooting fucking arrows at you.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. I like
If
that.
you think about it like that, it could be distance based. Like the distance stays, it's static, it doesn't level up or anything because you're in the heat of that battle. So
Yeah,
if some random off the wall archer or mage is shooting fireballs at you, they're not going to hear it and they're not really honestly going to care because they're like, fuck this, I'm up in a tower, I'm nowhere near this fucker, I don't need to be staggered or be scared of this person, so I'm gonna just keep shooting arrows at them. But say if someone's right in front of you, yeah, they're gonna be scared shitless because they just see some bloodthirsty asshole in front of them trying to kill them, or they're gonna flee because they see some bloodthirsty asshole in front of them trying to kill them. Like they'll either fall over staggering or they'll flee and run away.
so I agree with that. I think that's a good way to do it. Um, I also think, as much as I don't like that this is a thing, I think it makes sense that what the fuck? What's the name of I always forget. So the Nords, the companions, Izmir, not Izmir's
Use
who's the
Grimoire?
dude? Isgamor, yeah, yeah. Isgamor. So Ruthrad. Ruthrad was his
My
axe,
bad.
right?
My bad.
No, no, yeah, no, no. I was thinking of it's Isgamor, but
Okay.
Ruthrad was the name of his axe
Yes.
and his, I think.
No,
and
it is.
his act. What?
Uthfriend.
What?
Uthfriend.
I thought it was Wuthred.
Well, you're supposed to roll the R. That's why I was saying
I can't.
Uthfriend. And that's why I was
I
saying it
can't.
for you
Oh,
to help you out a little bit.
I can't roll my
I
R's.
know. Hence why I'm trying to help.
Anyways, the point I'm trying to make is that weapon does 10% extra damage to elf. And as much as I hate that, I think maybe it'd be lore friendly to give Nords that passive ability.
Okay,
Maybe make it 5%. I don't know.
hear me out on this. Say if with that battle cry they have that they can use at any point in battle, say if non-Nordic race hear it, have a they get an additional debuff on them where they take an additional 5% damage, but it's static. It stays at 5% damage. Where they're doing 5% extra damage to non-Norse race characters.
Yeah, and you
And,
you
and
could
it
you could
shows them
tie it.
for what they are at the end of the day, basically.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, and then you could tie it to somehow to because you know how if you play in Nord, the guards would call you kinsman, but
Mm-hmm.
if you're any other race, they won't.
Mm-hmm.
Like, kind of like that. Yeah.
And that's basically what I was getting at also, because it would be more lore friendly that because they have a quote unquote natural hatred of all other race beside the Nords, but it would only affect elves and the beast race. It wouldn't affect like say uh what was it? It wouldn't affect like Imperials. It wouldn't
Or
affect.
Bretons.
No,
I mean,
because they are
Bretons are
part elf. They
technically.
don't like
I
Bretons.
was gonna
They're
say that, yeah, but
half
but but
elf.
but they're considered human-ish at this point.
Well, the thing is, if we're going by the lore, Nords don't like Bretons either because they have
Really?
heritage with the Altmer. Yeah,
Okay, I guess I didn't realize that. Then yeah, then
that's
Bretons
what I
are
was
bad.
saying. It,
Yeah.
it wouldn't affect the. It wouldn't affect the Imperials, the Red Guards, or I'm trying to think. What's another quote unquote humanoid race that isn't an elf or a
Other than
beast?
Bretons, I think isn't that it?
I think they count orcs as beast race also, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so. Yeah. Although, am I wrong? Don't Nords respect orcs for being
They
warriors?
do because they're yeah, I was just about to say because they're warriors, so it wouldn't affect orcs either. They actually do have
Yeah.
some if I remember correctly, if we're going by the lore, they do have some respect for orcs for their craftsmanship of armors and weapons. Or arms
Exactly.
and
Not only that,
armors.
but they. Sorry.
No,
My bad.
you're good.
No, I was also going to say they also respect enchanting, which orcs do.
But they don't. I thought they didn't like enchanting because it's magic based.
No, no, that's what I'm saying. It's the one magic that they kind of are mildly cool with because it enhances their weapons.
So they
Like they even,
tolerate that magic.
yeah, they even say there's a line of dialogue, one or two lines of dialogue about that is Nord specific that says that yeah, enchanting's okay, I guess. Like I forgot what it was, but and yeah, and then that's like they begrudgingly respect orcs.
Because they're smithing of arms and armor, and that's
Yeah,
why they don't mind the orcs. So it wouldn't affect those three race in the grand scheme of things. It wouldn't affect those three race.
yeah, yeah.
I feel like I'm
Are we
missing
are we
one.
are we like totally forgetting one human race? I feel like we might be.
And because there's 10 playable race, you have
What's that?
Khajiit, Argonian, and Osmer or orcs, the wood elf, the dark elf, the high elf, the Nords, the Red Guards,
Bretons,
Bretons, and Imperials.
Imperials.
Yeah, that's all
Okay, no,
10.
no,
That's
we
all
we
10.
got it.
We didn't
We
forget
got it.
one.
All right, all right.
That is all. Yeah, hold on. Yeah, that's all 10. Yeah. So it wouldn't affect the Imperials, the Nords, or the Orcs. All three of them are, we'll say they are immune to the battle cry of
Okay,
the
yeah, that's
Nord.
fair.
Just those
Um,
three. So, and it makes it harder to fight them because of their quote unquote racial profiling of the battle cry if you play any race that isn't those
mhm.
three when fighting a Nord. All right. So,
Also, if I, well, go ahead.
oh no, I was going to ask, did you want to switch to another race or did you want to keep going with
Well,
Nords?
no, we can change. I thought we could do orcs for switch to orcs, but I did have just have a quick thought. I
Okay.
think there should be something amongst Argonians, the way we have, fellow having buffs to Khajiit with other Khajiit. The Hiss interconnects Argonians at a very deep level. So there should be something about being with a fellow Argonian. I don't know. I don't know what it would be.
Um,
Maybe a boost to regeneration.
I can live with that. I like that idea because the Hiss does have healing properties in it, and the
Like
more Hiss you have on the field, well, you know what I mean, on the field, would boost their connection to the Hiss, so it could help them regenerate faster.
maybe a
I
boost
don't
to
see why not.
regeneration. Yeah, and I was thinking a
Like their
boost to
healing rate or something like that, because they do have it in Skyrim as a lesser power where their healing or their natural healing regenerative ability goes up by like 1.5. So for every Argonian that you have on the like part of your crew, say if in the next game you can have up to at least three other people with you, so you can have up to four people in your posse like in Inquisition. Say if they did that for like the next Elder Scrolls, if you have three other Argonians, it goes up by an additional your healing rate in combat, specifically in combat, it goes up by an additional, say, 20% for each Argonian. So that way it's 20, 40, 60. So your healing rate is up by 60% just by having another Argonian with you.
Yeah, I really like that. And you could call it something like Egg Brothers Resolve or something.
Children of the Hist.
Children of the Hist. Yeah, I like that.
That
I
way
like that a
includes
lot.
male, female, and everything in between.
Yeah,
Children of the Hist. And
yeah,
actually, if
that's
you're
really
playing
good.
an Argonian, that's 80% because there's four Argonians on the crew. So that way you get
Um,
an 80% healing rate in combat. I
I
like
think
that
you should.
idea.
I really do, and I think you should have the limit be four additional Argonians to have the limit be 100%.
So 25
Bonus.
per Argonian?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, yeah, that works. 25
Because
per
you
Argon.
are an
Yeah.
Argonian to get that hist skill. So
No,
you would
yeah,
automatically
no.
get, that's what I'm saying. If you had two of them on the team, it's an additional 20%. So that's you start out with 20% healing rate. So that's 20, 40, 60, 80 in total.
Okay, hear me out. You know how we're saying Argonians are the best assassins? I think.
Oh no, they are definitely the best assassins.
Yeah. Oh, I totally agree. I think that every 5 levels you should get 1% just flat stealth attack bonus damage.
So when attacking in stealth, you get an additional 1 point of damage, or
Let's see. At
I
level
feel like that should
100,
be
that'd be
5. So for every
okay.
5 levels,
Sure.
you get 5 damage. So that way, at level 100, you get an additional 100 damage.
Rather than 100%. Yeah, rather than a percentage. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. And that way, it's
You become
comparable
an even
to
better assassin.
yes, and that way, because the Khajiit you have the speed increase and then the claw damage. You need, the stealth attack. You need at least two big boosts to
Well, they
Argonian.
have the venom bite that makes other
That,
enemies become zombies
I
for
mean, that's
them.
true. I mean,
So,
that's true.
but like I still like the idea of giving them a little bit more because they kind of did get fucked over in the last few games. Let's be honest. The last 3 games they kind of got screwed. Oh,
Also,
they
keep
can
in
swim
mind that-
underwater indefinitely. That's
God.
I'm
You know,
sorry. That's
that wouldn't be so.
shitty.
Oh. Well, listen, I love being able to hold my breath underwater. They just didn't put anything underwater to find barely.
No, they only have one spot. No,
Like,
they have okay.
seriously.
You have the Sea of Ghosts. You have that one particular dungeon that you're in that fort and you go underwater to get that one chest and come right back out, which that's you can use. I've always used fucking water breathing potion for that because it lasts long enough to get to it and back.
Have a look around while I slip into something more comfortable.
Thank you,
Like,
Insanity, for the raid. I appreciate that. Welcome in, everyone. Currently,
Hey.
Ian and I are talking about RPGs and how we would like to fix them. Just a heads up, we are not talking about Starfield right now. Only for the simple fact is because we haven't put enough hours into it and to avoid spoilers. But
Welcome.
because we don't have enough hours in it, we're kind of focusing more so on like Skyrim, Dragon Age, and Fallout. Caro cat, another cat. Fuck yeah, another Neko. Meow. The Neko squad grows. But yeah, I just want to say again, thank you for hanging out, trusting us with your community. Put all the hours, put more hours. We will. Trust me. I know I will, and I know Ian is. He's currently putting in a lot of hours.
Oh yeah.
But we're thinking of what we could do for another, say either Elder Scrolls, Dragon Age, or just RPG in general, and how we can make them better. Right now, currently, we're talking about how we can make the different race more unique to themselves, and how we can make them a little bit stronger. You just rebuilt your ship again tonight? Fuck yeah.
Hey,
I think I
Insanity.
saw something about that though.
How you doing?
But like you were saying though, on the Argonians though, they should have like a passive ability to like have a higher healing rate with other Argonians part of the team. And the
Yeah,
same thing
and
for Khajiit. And if Khajiits don't have like a crew with them or like a team, the other Khajiits will make them stronger. Or if they have other Khajiits part of the team, it'll still make them stronger, but it won't boost their natural ability that the Khajiits that they summon into battle makes them stronger, not the Khajiits on their team. I have made the
Hey,
podcast.
Lugia. Hey,
Whoa!
how's it going?
How you doing, Lugia?
Welcome. I'm so glad you can make it.
Can you give a shout out to Lugia and I'll give a shout out to
Yeah.
Insanity?
Working on it.
No, I don't mean to do that.
I'm not on my. I mean, I'm on my phone, but I don't have. There we go.
Elvis is difficult.
You might
for
need to
me.
do it
How
again.
you
just
guys
to-
doing?
to- Oh no, I need to do it
Why
again.
did I choose a hard one? Meh.
Now he gets a clip. Good. I just woke up. Nice. It feels good to be able to raid people again. Hell yeah. Welcome back to
Hey,
streaming.
Insanity, if you need help with your mic, so it looks like you're still having problems. Let Grimmer I know. We can try to figure it out. Okay, after the stream.
I'm down for that.
Go to sleep. Go to sleep.
We want to get it so you can talk to your chat.
That too.
Dempsey.
Um,
My daughter just threatened to murder
One
me
thing
by
I would
myself.
like to talk about is, if possible, if we have enough time, maybe we could talk about the orcs a little bit and how we would make them better in combat specifically, because we got
Yeah.
Khajiits down pat, we got the Argonians down pat, Nords are doing pretty good now. Granted, they didn't get as many as the other two beast race, but that's because I'm sorry, Argonians got fucked over in the last 3 games. Khajiits got fucked over in the last 3 games. They deserve better in the next game. Nords
Yeah,
are Nords.
I totally agree. Like, yeah, we need to focus on orcs. Didn't get enough love either. Honestly.
And that's what I was just about to say. They didn't get much love either, outside of, oh, they're the smithing race. I swear that's all they got. That and they're bloodthirsty.
Don't feel bad, Insanity. Neko's been having mic problems of their own. Like,
Yeah, last night my mic kept the light on it kept cutting off and on, so I thought it was cutting out because it's only on, the light is only on when it's on. So that's why I was like, what's going on with my mic? Um Shorting is probably a light shortage in there, but right now it's going good and it hasn't messed up. So I'm not sure.
hello?
One thing I want to say about orcs though, for
Okay.
their combat, if Reaver ever fit a specific race in Skyrim, I feel like Reaver hit the nail for orcs.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Me
Like,
personally, I feel like they should have like either a activate skill that they go into a bloodthirsty rage. You could even call it Orsinium Rage or something like that, where just like in Skyrim, half damage, double, take half damage, deal double damage, but give them, say, you could have something like when they're in combat, specifically in combat, their weapons and like they themselves become a weapon, that their weapons do double damage, but they're able to, how can you change it up a bit? I got it. Hear me out. They do double damage, they take half damage, but since they're in a battle frenzied state, time slows down for everything around them but them. So the way you can make it is, instead of them moving faster, the time around them in that battle frenzied state, they can they have their blood pump through their body better or whatever, and they move faster in combat specifically, but it's an active ability and not like a passive ability like for the Khajiit. The Khajiit has it as a passive ability, whereas an orc has it as a cooldown ability because they gotta pump the blood and get into that like that bloodlusted state of like a reaver, and that's why they only get it for a short burst because they're pushing their bodies to the absolute limits. Say for like say for 30 seconds, and then at level 50 it goes up to like a minute for up to 60 seconds. So that way the stronger and more you use the orc, they as they level up at level 50 they get a bonus of 60 seconds, but at level 50 specifically they get 150% damage and they take 150% less. And then at level
well,
100 they
hmm,
do 200% damage on top of their original damage, and then they take 200% less damage.
you can't take 200% less.
Well, I meant like
No, I
you
know
you,
what you
you
meant.
see you see what I'm saying though. Like
I
I'm
do.
trying
I'm
to think of
sorry.
a
That
way.
was a dick thing. I was just being anal about it.
Or
So
hear
I
me
like
out.
that a lot. Yeah.
So at level 50 they take 75% less damage, and at level 100 they take no damage for 60 seconds in combat.
Yeah, so I really like that. I also had a thought. Okay, pair with that. That okay,
14 dog
okay,
choose.
for you I want orcs to have kill streaks and kill streak related very temporary invulnerability. Complete invulnerability. Meaning, say up to between level 1 and level 50. You do that, but also for if you kill an enemy, say you activate the ability, and for a duration of 30 seconds, if you kill an enemy within 6 seconds, then you remain invulnerable. No, so you're invulnerable for 6 seconds. If you kill the enemy within 6 seconds, the streak continue. You keep that invulnerability for another 6 seconds. So you have to kill 5 enemies, up to 5 enemies. So every 6 seconds, as long as you're killing an enemy, the invulnerability stays there up to 5 enemies for 30 seconds. And then at a level 100, it's increased to a maximum of 60 seconds in 10 enemies. But so basically, you've got 50%. Okay, so for the first 6 seconds, you have 50% damage output bonus, 50% less damage you take. But once you kill an enemy, it's boosted to 100% damage output, 100% less damage, meaning no damage taken. As long as you're killing an enemy every 6 seconds, up to 5 enemies, total of 30 seconds. And then level 100, it increases to 10 enemies max, 60 seconds. That was what I think the ideal Berserker Rage would be.
Okay, hear me out. Say something similar to what you're saying, but something similar to what I said. I was thinking about the Hulk for a second. Instead of it being tied to every enemy gives you an extra 6 seconds, how about instead of it increasing that 30 seconds to 60 seconds at level 100, or like a minute and a half at level 100, because you start out with 30, then at 50 you get to a minute, and then 100 you get a minute and a half. Say if it still does that, but what happens is every time you kill an enemy, that 30 seconds resets. That 60 seconds resets.
Oh, I like
or
that.
that minute and a half
Yeah.
resets every
Fuck
time you
yeah.
kill an enemy with a power move, with a power attack.
I like that a lot.
Every time
You
you
know what
kill
they
an
can
enemy
do?
using a power attack, you're basically saying, I'm going to fucking wreck you. You see that
No, I
motherfucker
like that a lot.
I just ripped his head off? You're next. And it
You-
it fuels the rage and the bloodlust that they have to make them that much stronger, that much more tanky in combat. And it resets that 30-second time limit, that 60-second time limit, and that minute and a half second time limit. So that way you can literally clear out an entire field by yourself. You can go
I
through
really like that. Yeah.
a fort and just be like berserk rage and just like Hulk that bitch with a fucking warhammer, just going through power bashing the shit out of people, slamming the hammer down into them, and it resets that 30 seconds because you could say for lore reasons that the blood starts pumping more and faster the more that they see their victims fall to their feet, and it
So
resets
I
that 30
love that.
seconds.
I think that's what the best way to do it. But I want it to be you can only do that with a two-handed weapon. I think that would be cool.
Well, that's what I said specifically. You have to kill the enemy with a power attack, because
That's what
remember,
I
the
mean.
stronger you get, you might
Yeah.
not get that power attack on that enemy, and you might accidentally cut them down with a single hit. But if there's a more
Well, that's what I'm
tankier
talking
enemy
about.
on the field and you hit them with a power attack, be it with a one-handed or a two-handed weapon,
Okay.
then actually you could. It's just I don't want to tie them down to specifically a two-handed weapon. So say if they're using magic and they do like a dual casted fireball at an enemy, they can still be a mage
Oh,
and
I
do
see
a
what you're saying.
fireball, but it's got to be dual casted or power attack with
Okay.
a
No,
one-handed or something like that.
Hmm.
That
No,
way
I
it
like
shows
that
that
more.
bloodthirsty lust, that bloodlust, that bloodthirst that they have in combat, to show that they're that much stronger, that they're that much more tankier, either as a mage or as a warrior. That's why I never really specified for the Nord or the Khajiit or the Argonian a specific weapon. For like the Argonians, they could use any weapon type because it's on the weapon, the secretion of the toxin or the poison that they have, but they can't really use it with magic. Khajiit,
Yeah,
it makes them
I
more
really.
animalistic, whereas like you're getting to more non-beast race where they're using magic or they're using weapons. Now, if you want to say for Khajiit, they have all those Khajiit with them, then say if they wanted to use magic, since it's still using no weapons, but it's the magic that's in their hands, you could say that it gets a power boost and they can shoot spells faster and their mana regens a little bit faster in combat for every 5 levels. It gets better.
Yeah,
Isn't that
I
just
agree with
40k
all
Orc
of
Boy?
this.
More kill, more good.
Um,
Better fight, Orc be bigger. God damn
so
it.
what I'm thinking about for the orcs, because that was a really genius way of doing it. I think that you should have it applied so it can be any weapon, but has to be a power attack.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's daggers, it has. I would say it has to be. Well, I was gonna say a dual flurry, or it could just be power attack.
Well,
Um,
for daggers, honestly, I feel like that should be like assassin specific because
okay,
assassins usually attack with daggers. Let's be honest. Assassins usually attack
fair.
with daggers.
But like,
Orcs
no, I
aren't
get
really
that.
gonna
But
be
like,
like, they'll look at a dagger, they look at a long sword. They're gonna go for the long sword. They're gonna go for
well,
the
I
great
mean,
sword.
the only thing about that though is my favorite race for assassins, at least as it stands currently in Skyrim, vanilla, is orcs because of that double damage sneak attack. But I see what you're saying. But we're not talking
Well,
about
that's
sneak
through
attacks. We're talking.
skill. I mean, that's through
We're talking.
perks.
I know we're talking about power attacks. So that's fair. And then that way, say you're dual wielding fireballs. You have it has to be dual cast,
Mm-hmm.
which I like. Okay,
So that
no,
way,
that's
either
fair.
mages or warriors can do it.
Drink water, you dehydrated bitch!
Yeah,
Thank you so much for that. For the hydrate. Also, please hydrate, Ian. Just
Yeah,
want to say
thank
real
you.
quick, Caro, the 40k. I'm assuming you're talking about Warhammer 40k. I don't know, but I'm going to assume that. Um, but yeah, that's basically my idea. More kill, more good, better fight, orc be bigger. I was thinking orcs are somewhat green in tint, and it reminded me of Hulk, World Breaker Hulk specifically. The more pissed off he got, the more deadlier he got in combat. That's what I was thinking. Orcs are Hulk, effectively. As dumb
You
as
know
of a
what else you
comparison
could
that is,
do?
but that's where my brain went.
Um, Along with that kill streak of every time you kill an enemy, it resets. Every time you kill an enemy, you could get 5% faster.
For every. Okay, so basically like the Khajiit a little bit where. Or, how about this? Every 5 levels, when they take damage, they have to specifically take damage. Their speed increases by 1% for every attack they take at level
Yeah,
5.
so
It starts
that's
at level
yeah.
at once they hit level 5, it'll be 1%, but it stays static at 1%. Doesn't increase at up to like level 100 or anything, but at level 5, once they hit that level 5, they get 1%. Say if they're in a battlefield and like say 30 people hit them, either with arrows, magic, weapons, what have you, like melee, then they get 1%, 1%, 1%, 1%, 1%. As long as they're in combat, for every hit they take, they get faster and faster by actually say 0.5%. Because say if they run across the Khajiit that's hitting them like what the fuck levels of flurries of attacks, then the faster that Khajiit hits them, the faster that orc gets, and the more enraged they get to do more damage, to go faster, to match that Khajiit. So I would say 0.5% at least, and then make it where at say at 0.5% you have an archer, right? Well, I wanted to get into one specific class for this real quick, but say like an archer keeps shooting arrows at them during the entirety of combat and they didn't get a chance to get to that archer, they're gonna constantly be getting hit. So I feel like 0.5% faster would be good because it's only gonna go up as long as combat's in effect, basically. So say after like 30 hits, they're going 15% faster. 30 hits is not that long to get hit. It does not take that long to get hit 30 times in combat if you're literally steamrolling enemies. Especially if there's an archer or a mage on the battlefield. You're going to get hit like 30 to 40 something times within a few seconds.
You know what I was thinking?
Not including
Maybe
the
a bit.
melee people smacking the shit out of your face.
No, I like that. I think there's another way you could do it that reminds me a lot more of the Hulk.
I feel like
because
that would be the
where
Hulk.
the Hulk rages. Say the Hulk's on the field with a bunch of enemies. He
Hmm.
will keep raging and destroying, getting stronger and stronger, until there's no more enemies to rage at. So I
Hmm.
think another way, a different way you could do it, is for however many enemies are on the field against you, you are 10% faster, or say 20% maybe, because there's not often more than like
Well, if
five
we're
or
going
six.
by the Cryo Engine
But
2, which has more people on the field, if you
that's
think
true.
about it, they might have even more enemies in like forts and whatnot. So I wouldn't say 10%.
Sure. Okay, so whatever number, but that way your raging only ends really, and
It
you
only
know what you
slows
can
down the
do?
less enemies.
Yeah, meaning they can even do it so for every enemy in the field it goes up, uh, m- um, um, it's compounded by 5% or 10. So multiple. It's a
Multiplicative.
compound multiple. So, and even until the very last enemy is dead, the rage doesn't end, because that way it's like it's the enemies that infuriate you. But the
So
second there's no more enemies in the field, your rage subsides.
so hear me out. Since this is an active ability, say however many enemies are on the field at the moment at the start of battle, you'll times about that many. So say
Yeah,
if
I like that.
hypothetically there's 10 enemies on the field and you do like 5% per enemy. 10 enemies, you're 50% faster. So you're mowing down enemies. You're mowing down these 10 enemies that are in a certain radius of you. Say if there's 10 enemies around you, you go Bloodlust, you go Orcus Rage, or Hulk Rage, or Orcus Rage. There's 10 enemies around you, you go 50% faster, you're hitting 50% harder, you're taking 50% less damage, you're only getting more and more pissed off as the battle prolongs. So every enemy that you kill, say it heals you. Say because the blood is pumping so much more, it's starting to heal the wounds that the enemies are inflicting on you. You heal, say, 10 health for every enemy that you slaughter. So if you kill 10 enemies, you just got 100 health, right? So that way you've
Yeah,
healed yourself by killing your enemies.
I
And
like
it
that.
only gets stronger as you get more levels.
Yeah, what you can do, another way you could do it, I think, is every 10 levels, the radius,
Gets bigger.
yeah, by 10 meters.
Yeah,
Up
that's
to a level
that's
100.
100 and no, you said
Well,
10 meters?
we're just talking about enemies. So up to a level 100 for 100 meters. And you get 10%. I don't
Oh,
know.
so a meter per level? I can live with that.
Yeah.
One additional meter, which is 3 feet, an additional meter per level. So an additional 100 meters, and say you start off with 20 meters. 20 times
I like
3
that.
is
Yeah. Yeah.
60 feet. That's a decent range at level 1. That's a decent range. And
Like
every
that
level,
alone.
every one level, you
Yeah.
get an additional 3 feet or 1 meter. I feel like that works. That levels pretty nicely.
And
That
I
actually does
think
level
that,
really nicely. 'Cause I'm
yeah,
thinking
that's
of
what
a
I was
couple of the
thinking.
forts because some enemies are on the tower, and I think the towers are usually about like they're usually about a good 30 feet, so that's about what 10 meters. So by time you're level, what would that be? 10 meters. So by time you're level 10, you would actually draw the aggro of the tower people, the people up in the tower, like the archers and the mages. So yeah, I can live with that. By the time you level 100, that's 100 and say 150 meters. You start off with 50 meters, you get up to 150 meters. The whole battlefield is effectively your battle zone. And we'll say, how about this? Most abilities for like these space, the space, race specific, which I'm fusing those two words, race-specific abilities cap at level 100. Because by then you're going to be OP with these race abilities. You
Yeah.
don't need to go much higher than level 100 to be OP with these abilities. So say each race ability maxes out 100. So you're at 150 meters. That times 3 is 150. So that's, say, 15 times
Oh.
3 is 45. So that's 450 feet. That's damn near a whole battlefield. So yeah, that works. That's bigger than most forts. So yeah, I'd say that works perfect.
So
And
I
they
have
draw
another.
aggro.
Yeah, no, I think that would work real well. And then I just had one other quick thought I forgot to mention regarding Argonians. I want there to be for every level up to level 100, every level you are 5% faster in the water. So at level 100, you're 500% faster.
That might break games. The
Okay,
speed,
okay,
just the
so,
speed. That's why.
well, okay, say 200%.
I was
So
gonna say at
every,
least 100%, but you start off with say 50% faster underwater,
yeah, so you start out 50% faster in the water. Every level is an additional
1%
um,
faster. So at a level 100, you're
1%.
150%. That
Yeah,
might not break physics.
and
Yeah, I
they
don't think
better
that
damn well
that
put
that
stuff
might
to
not break
find a
physics.
yeah. Like they better like they got a
Also, we
whole
need
freaking
underwater
they got
combat
yeah well,
and
yeah. Bring back
chests
underwater combat first of all,
and
and put stuff
chests.
to find underwater. I mean, Jesus.
Give us underwater caves that we go underwater, find a cave, go in there, and then we
Yes,
fight a small little dungeon that's
like
underground, but it's the only way you
like
can access it is underwater.
because you've got an entire race whose specialty is underwater breathing. You got underwater enchantments, and you got underwater potions, and you got nothing underwater. It's so dumb.
I I was gonna say if we're talking world building, definitely do that. Um, so I feel like we got orcs good, right? The quote unquote Hulks of the Elder Scrolls world.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'd like there to be something related to their enchanting or smithing abilities, but I think we can move on to the next
Well, if
tier.
we're talking combat, I would say like maybe a
Oh yeah.
passive skill for um hear me out on this. It's not a good passive skill, but it's like something that makes sense. Their smithing, one-handed and two-handed skills increase at 1.5% faster because they're
I
known
like
for
that.
that. I feel like that's fair, right?
I also
Because
think
they
that
literally
orcs,
only get bloodlust in combat. That's it.
sure.
So they kind of need something to go with it. If you think about it,
One thing I know this is kind of a small thing, but I feel like orcs. You know how I feel
orc
like
with
orcs
sonic boom.
shouldn't need a pickaxe to mine, or at least they should come with a pickaxe, like in their inventory, just by default.
Mm, I don't know. Maybe they get an extra ore or two per
Okay,
mining.
so you know how Dragon Age has that one perk where you have a 10% chance to get extra plants?
Uh-huh.
With maybe you could get 10% chance to get extra ore material when you mine.
I guess, but then you would have to do something special for each race like that, though. So, like for
Well,
Argonians, you give them
no.
the no. That hear me out. Hear me out. Argonians get better water speed underwater. They get better speed, right?
Yeah.
Khajiit get um I got it for Khajiit since they're the more of a predatory type race. When it comes to beasts in the world, they're able to sneak up on them easier or less likely to be
Oh,
detected by beasts in the world. I
so
feel like that would be wood elf
one other quick
because they're
idea.
known for
I,
nature.
what
I
about
don't know.
a 5% chance, a passive 5% chance for orcs to not destroy whatever they're disenchanting to learn that enchant.
Yeah, but that would be under enchanting because the simple fact you have a skill literally under enchanting where it doesn't break enchanted items.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I know,
No,
but
okay. I'm just saying that's one of their specialties. I'm just
well, no, I get that, but I want okay when we're making these different race with their specialized abilities that are special to them. I feel like it shouldn't be something
hey
that you can
Panda.
do on the skill tree. What's up, Panda?
No, I
Um,
get that.
but that's all I'm saying is that if you're gonna give them something, don't make it on the skill tree. Make it something very specific to them. That you see what I'm saying? Where it's like not another
No, I
race
get
can
it.
do that.
That's not related to skill.
I don't think
Sure.
so. I mean, I can kind of jump. I can do like.
Damn, we both shouted him out.
But
But that's
No,
what I
I
was saying
get
though.
what you're
Like
saying.
when it comes to that, maybe give them like I was saying with the heavy armor, one-handed and two-handed. Maybe their enchanting can go up by 1.5% faster. They learn it better because they are orcs and their
You
lore
know
and
what
their
they could
history with enchanting and
I
whatnot.
don't think I can
you know what you
actually
could do?
stick
This would be
my
also
tongue
cool.
out. Because of the
Anytime
way,
you power
no,
attack
I
with
don't
an
think this
orc,
animated my tongue.
you have just a passive
Yeah, that's
2%
as far as
chance to intimidate the enemy.
unfortunately.
To flee.
Poke
No, that's
me,
too much.
my ears jiggle.
1%. 1% chance to intimidate the enemy to flee. Whenever you successfully power attack.
So the way this avatar was made,
Or
by
is
the
that
way,
still
for
too
actually
much?
for avatars,
No, I was gonna
jump
change
up
it just
to
ever so slightly.
made
So what I would
either way,
say
I can stab
is,
all of them.
oh damn, we literally went through both
Get the
shout
guy
outs
in
to
the
him.
green
Um,
right.
I'm trying to wait for the shout out to go off, but
His dancing is crazy.
don't be mad at me, Panda, but I kind of want to say something real quick, and I don't want to forget. Sorry, had to cut that shout out off. One thing I want to say real quick is, so I don't forget, instead of it being 1% or something like that, but how about for every level up to level 50, they get an additional percent to stagger or flee an enemy in combat whenever they power attack. Whenever they power attack.
Yeah, I
So
like that.
once they get up to
That's
level
kind of
50, there's a 50% chance to make everybody in their battle radius that they create when they go into a bloodlust, that every 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 time they power attack or dual cast with magic, either or, there's a 1% up to a 50% chance of making everybody in that range either flee or stagger. It's up
okay.
to a 50% chance.
I like that, but I think it should be 1% added every other level, so that at level 100 it's 50%.
That works. I can live with that. So that way it maxes out at 100, level 100, so that way it's 50%.
Yeah, because that seems to be where all of our racial abilities are peaking.
Can we do it at every 3 levels? So it's at 30%?
Yeah.
Because I feel
Oh,
like
I see what you're
50%
saying.
is a little too powerful. Because if you're doing
No,
dual cast, dual cast, dual cast, dual cast,
no,
it's like you're
that's
almost
yeah.
guaranteeing that
So
chance to go off.
okay,
So
what about this? No, what about this? What if it only apply? No, no, I take that. Never mind.
because
Okay, yeah,
I
I
want it
agree
to
with
be
that.
in the radius. How about 25%? So that way you have to maybe do like 4 power attacks or 4 dual casts
You know what we can
to
do?
do something like
There can
that.
be. Oh, sorry. So we can do that, and there can be a cooldown of, say, 10 seconds.
For every time you do the fear wave, basically,
Yeah, yeah,
or the submission wave, either they flee
a,
or they
yeah,
stagger.
yeah.
I like
Basically,
that.
there needs to be a cooldown.
Every 10 seconds it cools down. After it activates, it's a 10-second cooldown
Sure.
for it to reactivate again. Before it
Yeah, I
activates
think
again,
that
I should
works.
say. That way they're not
Yeah.
too overpowered. Alright, I feel like
Um.
orcs are good.
Yeah.
Orcs are good. We did Nords, we did orcs, we did Khajiit, and we did Argonian. Alright. Um I want to do one more race if possible. And the race I would like to do, if you don't mind, is the high elf, because I kind of had a couple of ideas.
Okay, hit me. Yeah.
So they're the masters of magic. Let's
Yep.
face it, they're known to be the masters of magic, right?
Yeah, and I
Say,
gotta say,
huh?
oh
No,
no, I was just gonna say that I think they got a bad rap in Skyrim.
they definitely did because of the Outmarry Dominion and all that. They
Like,
definitely got a
I'm
bad
not.
rap.
I feel no pity for the storm. The Nords for, but I feel like in the long run, uh, high elves deserve a little better than that.
All right, so hear me out for the just thinking out loud
Yeah.
for the Altmer. In my opinion, I feel like since they're known for their magic, right?
Right.
Say um for every 5 levels, they get an additional when entering combat. When they enter combat, they get a will-o-wisp because their will-o-wisps are naturally attracted to magic. They're usually known to be around mages and whatnot. So for every 5 levels, they get an additional will-o-wisp. No, not every 5 levels. Every 10 levels. So that way it maxes out at 10. 10
Okay.
will-o-wisps. Because hear me out. So whenever a whenever they do a dual casting destruction spell, specifically destruction, the will-o-wisps, regardless of where they're at on the field, will use the same spell, 50% less damage from it, but they use the same spell. So say hypothetically you're an Altmer, you go to a fort, you enter combat, 10 random will-o-wisps will appear in a say 100 meters around you, right? At the beginning of combat. Well, no, 50, and then it increases, like with the orc, how it increases up to 150. Same dynamic, where it increases up to 150 by level 100, and they get up to 10 will-o-wisps that randomly appear on the battlefield. So, say if the Altmer decides to do dual casting fireball, all 10 will-o-wisps, wherever you're targeting, will send a dual casted fireball to where your attack lands. So say if you hit the ground in front of you, there's 10 will-o-wisps in the battlefield. They all launch one dual cast fireball that does the damage of a regular fireball, not dual cast, but just a regular fireball at your location because you hit your location with a dual casted fireball.
Yeah, I like that, and but at 50% power, right?
Oh no, that's what I'm saying. Because if you're dual casting it, they don't do a dual casted version. They do a single regular fireball.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think that's cool. I think that's really cool.
Now, at level 100, say once they hit level 100, right? If they use
Yeah.
a master spell of like, what was it? What was the fire nova thing that they do that you can get, or the master
Flame
spell?
cloak? No, firestorm.
Firestorm. So say if you do Firestorm, they do a 50% reduced Firestorm wherever they're at.
Okay, I
This would
like that.
make them the
Oh,
masters of magic,
by the
literally.
way, so speaking of firestorm, I think we already had this conversation in the first episode about I think about magic, but I want them to bring back. So before they patched the original version of Skyrim, before the special edition, um, and I know you disagreed with me on this, I think, but as you increase the magnet, and I'm not going to completely rehash the topic, but I want Firestorm to be able to grow in size as well as power. Because Now, what I can what I'll say that I'll change from what I said before. I think that it'd be cool, and I know we're veering into magic now, but if you choose to specialize, like super specialize in one of the elements to the exclusion of all other elements, you should be able to have a unique OP version of the spell mastery. And I think say you first you have to master fire, ice, and lightning, and or maybe I take that back. Say you decide to spec into either ice, fire, or lightning, and you want to become the absolute master of that, and you commit because there's something similar to this with um what's the what
Not
I'm why am I
obsidian.
what
It starts with a O.
no why am I blanking on the ordinator
Yeah, it
yeah
starts with a O. That's I was trying to think of it. Ordinator.
okay, so you can specialize in you whatever element you choose is 30% more powerful and the rest are 30% weaker. Say you choose to say, okay, I can no longer cast anything but novice level spells in the other two schools. Just say there's a quest that requires you to use all three elements. You can still use novice spells, but you're no longer able to use anything above novice in the other two schools. I want there to be an not like game breaking, but a pretty OP super tier level of super tier magic spell. And I think that would be a good way of doing say the flame cloak, that it both the more powerful it is, the bigger it is, and the stronger it is. And I think you could say that, for example, what you could do with lightning would be you're able to use lightning storm in one hand, and you're able to walk around. It's just an idea I had.
Fair. Um, but back to the Altmer.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I know
Oh
I
no,
went
no,
off
you're
on a
good. You're
tangent
good.
there.
You're good. Well, the reason why this is the reason why I was not wanting to do what you were saying with the cloak spell, because if you play as an Altmer, say you use the flame cloak, right? You
Yeah,
go into a dungeon, say combat initiates, right? You have
yeah,
your level 100, 10 will-o-wisps appear. Actually, you could probably do I'll say every to make it how would you make it 25? Basically where at level 100 you have 25 will-o-wisps on the field. They do 50% less damage than what you would do initially. So say if you did flame cloak. They do flame cloak. That whole cave is covered in flame cloak because they got to be within bounds of that cave. So every enemy that's in that cave that's near a will-o-wisp is getting hit with flame cloak. Now do you see why I wanted to do it that way?
no, I see that, and you could tie the kind of let's just call them super tier magic abilities. And what I was suggesting, like Ainz Ulgon has, you could say that the only masters of the school can do it. You can't be copied. So I don't know.
Well, I get what you're saying, but that I'm just trying to mainly focus on the Altmar right now, if you don't mind.
No. I thought you were bouncing off what I said, and you're giving it as a reason
Well,
why you didn't
that's
want to
why,
do that.
and the reason
Okay.
why I didn't want to say that is because if you play as an Altmer, say you have this spell that you're talking about, say like if you're walking around with the lightning storm, right? The one that looks
Yeah.
like a lightning kamehameha. Say if you run across one of your will-o-wisps and you're in combat. If you hit it, if you hit that will-o-wisp with your uh lightning damage, instead of it shooting it at random, it'll link up to the next will-o-wisp. So your one attack will hit all 25 will-o-wisps, bouncing off to the next one, and they all make this like web across an entire cave.
Well, I think that'd be awesome.
And now do you see why
But
I'm saying that you don't want to have an OP spell? Because if you give that to an Altmer, all of their little will-o-wisps minions are going to be doing that spell also.
no, I get it.
So that's what I'm saying. If you give, like, yeah, you can make it for like mages become stronger using these spells, but if you put this OP level spell in the hands of an Altmer, they're going to be effectively killing an entire cave at the beginning of the cave.
No, I get what you're saying, and yeah, and I think we've sufficiently talked about that. And before we run out of time, I did want to talk about the Thieves Guild if we can.
Ah, shit, we did skip over the Thieves Guild and the Assassin's Guild because we went straight into the how we would quote unquote fix the different race.
Yeah,
Would it be okay if we did that next time? Like lead out
sure,
the gate with
absolutely.
the thieves, like we talk about the
Yeah,
guilds next time,
you know
and
what?
maybe
That's a
like
great idea.
a couple more of the race on the next one.
Yeah, we can do the rest of the races and do guilds next time.
All right. So to finish off on the Altmer, because right now all they have are the will-o-wisps. So what would be something else you would like to give them to make them a bit better in combat?
Uh,
Because so far all they have is a will-o-wisp that copies their attack at 50% output, basically.
I'm trying. I'm gonna need a minute to think on that. Honestly, I've not really ever put too much thought into that before. Why don't you, um, let's see.
All right,
Uh,
since Altmer are known for their magic ability,
yeah.
how about in combat specifically? Say their Altmer blood allows them to regenerate magic at an increased rate compared to the other race that aren't so quote unquote magically inclined, as they like
Well,
to say all the time.
that's already that's already how they do it in the game.
I know, but that we're making for the next Elder Scrolls game. That's what I'm saying. Because I took from for the orcs how they have the 50% damage output and 50% damage output, not outfoot, but output, and take
Yeah.
50% damage, but I just embellished or like increased it a bit and like changed it up a bit.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
their blood gives them 50% magic regen. Oh no. They start out
So
with a 50% magic regen, right? Fed
yeah.
magic amount. Their mana pool is already 50% higher at the start. But in
Yeah.
combat, they use the quote unquote the elements of the elements that are around them, like the fire, the lightning, the ice, that they're using to make those spells that they personally use, say 1% stronger every say every every other level they get an additional percent. So at level 100 it's 50% stronger. Any elemental magic they use that is specifically under destruction gets that much stronger.
So yeah, I like that, and I think another thing you could do is Altmer from the very beginning of the next game can get two come with two novice level um let's put it this way, can put get two either novice level or no, two up to apprentice level, two novice level or one apprentice level summons. And I think they should have a cap of one additional summons beyond every other race, just naturally.
All right, so hear me out. What if at the start of the game they start off with healing, flames, shock, frostbite, a conjuration spell, an illusion spell and an alteration spell, but a novice of all of them. So they would get Oak Flesh, Familiar,
Flame. I think they should have Flame Atronach and Summon Familiar.
all
Oak
right, that
Flesh,
works. That works.
Frostbite, Flames, Shock. Say
And healing. Got to give them healing.
and you know what? And give them is Charm too much?
Who?
No, Charm. I think you should give Breton's Charm. I know that we're
Well,
not talking about Breton's.
I was just about to say that's what we're. I'm trying to mainly to
No.
like focus on the Altmer.
All I meant was maybe Charm isn't appropriate because Altmer seemed like the destruction, alterations, maybe summoned, less the illusion. Yeah.
Well, no, they're the quote unquote masters of magic, as they like to so eloquently say. So that's why I was thinking like they can start off with a spell in every skill tree, so that way they're basically saying that, oh, I already know one of everything, and I can start off in any direction I want to go to.
Sure. Then also give them Soul Trap and Frenzy. Like low.
Am I
the
thinking of
lowest
Fury?
Level.
No, is it
Well,
Fury or is it in Frenzy?
Fury,
Which
my
is
bad.
it?
I forget. I think Frenzy is lower than Fury, isn't it?
Whichever one is the lower one of the two, because neither one of us can apparently remember.
But yeah.
Give them the lower version of that, but give them that one, Fear, and Calm. So basically, they're starting off with a lot of like novice level spells. That's their effectively bonus to having the Will-O-Wisp, but they can use like say they start off with majority of the novice level spells.
And here's what else I think. I think at level 10, they either 10 or 15, they automatically get Octavia's Recital.
Octavia's Recital.
Or whatever it's called. The one that...
Oh, Octavia's Recital.
Yeah.
When you said Octavius, I was like, oh no.
I forgot what it was called.
Did you say Octavia? Octavius?
I forgot what it was called. I almost said Ochento's Recital.
Because when you said Octavia's, I was thinking, I don't know why my brain went to Otto Octavius, but I was like, I don't think he's referring to Doc Ock. But Octavia's Recital, yeah, they start off with that spell, yes. So that way they can have three at the beginning of combat. They start off with that spell. But other people can learn that spell. They're the ones that start off with that spell. Like, other race can learn these spells.
Yes.
After they buy it, but they just naturally know these spells at the beginning of the game.
Agree.
Like, they have a whole repertoire of magic at their disposal, knowing all these spells, and they don't have to waste time or money learning these spells. They just know it because they were born with the innate ability of these magic, of these spells and all these skills.
So hear me out, because we're trying to show them love, right?
Mm-hmm.
They get up to 3 novice level summons, but at the cost of okay, no, that's too complicated. What I was gonna say is, or 2 apprentice level summons.
Okay, hear me out. So I know I kept telling you don't do something that they can get a skill in, or that they can perk into. So I know I'm kind of, this is me retconning what I just said. So say at the beginning, at level 1, they start off with having the ability to have 2 summons. I know the conjuration thing, they get 2 summons, but they automatically start off with 2, but then when they get to that perk, they get 3 summons. So they're able to have an additional summon at the beginning of the game. They start off with 2, and I feel like conjuration, you should be able to have up to like maybe 5 summons. Yeah, if I'm being honest. So. Because that's not fair. Because like, you're playing a mage, and you have no summons, people are gonna dog the shit out of you, especially if we're making these characters so strong like we are. You're gonna get dogged if you're a mage. Let's face it. So maybe in Conjuration, give us like 5 summons. That would be awesome.
Here's an idea.
But
If you become if sorry, just I'll go ahead. You finish.
I just want to say real quick, instead of giving them that 50 points of extra magicka, give them an additional summon. So that way they can have 2 summons on the field.
Okay. So
And
what
at
about
level and max conjuration there, they have 6 summons instead of 5 like everybody else. They get an additional 6 or 7 summons. They get 2 additional summons at that quote unquote twin spell or whatever it's called on the conjuration. They can have 7
So here's-
summons instead of 5 like everybody else, like the other peasants.
here's an idea. So okay. So for all characters, all if it, all what am I trying to say? All characters, every 10 levels. So what am I trying to say? Every 10 levels, starting at. Give me a sec to think this out.
Is this for Altmer or is this for every race?
Give me just a second. I need to do the math in my head.
Okay.
6, 25.
Well, while you're thinking of that, I apparently just got a package delivered at fucking 10 o'clock at night, basically. So
What?
I'm gonna go check the mail real quick. I just got a notification that mail came to the
Okay.
house. So I'm gonna go check that. You
All right.
do the math stuff real quick. That fucking creeped me out. I just got a
Alright.
notification as you said that. I will be right back.
Anyways, for anyone
Also,
who's
once
here
your
watching,
idea comes up, please go forth and say your idea because I will have you in the headphones.
I was just about to say to chat. My idea, yeah. Thank you. I'm glad you agree. What I was gonna say is, um, so my idea is for every race, beginning at level 25. Wait a sec. Um, sorry, beginning at level 15. So every race can start with the ability to summon 1 summon, other than the Altmer. And every level, every 10 levels, beginning at level 15, up to level 75, you get the ability to summon 1 additional summon at a time, maxing out at a total of 6 summons at level 75, except for high elves, and then high elves at level 75 will be able to have a total of 7 summons. And within magic and spellcasting, the number 7 holds great power. So only the high elves, because of their innate inborn mastery of magic and expertise, can ultimately at level 75 have a total of 7 summons. That was my idea. I was just trying to do the math in terms of the number of levels per summon in my head.
Fair enough. Also,
So
by
that
the
way,
by, I am as the back.
okay. Hi, welcome back. So yeah, so I think that every 10 levels, starting at level 15, all races should be able to get 1 additional, or put it this way, every 10 levels of conjuration up to level, beginning at level 15, going to level 75, an additional summon, except for high elves, which start with 2 and end with 7 summons, because that's the magic, the literal magic number,
I could live with that.
just a random idea.
I like that idea.
Because you're right, mages, even if they got powerful spells, we're giving all the other races these OP abilities, and mages and Altmer need a way to, be on par with that.
I thought about something when I was outside.
Oh,
So,
by the way, what'd you get? Sorry, what were you thinking? Not
so
what'd
what I
you
was
get. Did you
thinking,
get the pack?
I did. Um,
Okay.
so what I was thinking was, instead of giving them more summons, what if, because it again, I'm kind of wanting to stick to my rule of not giving them an ability that they can get through perks. What if
Sure.
instead we give them enemies within melee range take pure magical damage? Because
Um.
the Altmer radiate a specific type of magic energy around them in combat, specifically in combat, that enemies that they basically enemies that are like the red dots on the map or on the little compass, they
Yeah.
they exude or like they radiate a certain type of magical energy, dealing say 5 damage at the beginning, and then at level 100 they're dealing like um say 50 damage per second to enemies that are within melee range specifically. So that way they can still use their magic and everything without having to be fearing of getting hit, because they're literally putting out a magical aura that is hitting enemies in that range.
So I like that. The only thing I would change is rather than creating an entirely new force in terms of just pure magic damage, let's make it 2 points. Sorry, chaos damage, 2 points each of fire, ice, and electricity.
I can live with that. That works 100%. Give them that chaotic, yeah, it would give them a chaotic aura of pure unfiltered magic where they're
Or
using where it's causing chaotic damage where enemies within melee range, so say like 1 meter around them at the center, so it would be 1 meter of a radius, so the diameter would be 2 meters, so about 6 feet around them. Enemies would take 2 fire, lightning, and ice damage per second, and at level 100 would be, if you did it every 5 levels times 2, so that's 10 levels times 2 would be 20, so they would be getting hit with 20, 40, 60, so they would be getting hit with 60 damage per second as long as
or
they're in combat.
you know what we should do, because the way that chaos damage actually works is 50% chance to get hit by one or all, either or all. So make it 50% chance to get hit by 3 points of either ice and or fire and or electricity. So the low end would guaranteed be 3, but the high end would be a chance, a
Of
chaotic
9.
chance of 9,
Can we
and
just
then
do
that would
like 5
okay.
instead? Instead of
Sure,
3, it'll
sure.
be like 5, 10, or 15 damage basically.
Well, sure, but I thought that 15 was too much to start with it, because then
Yeah,
it
but
would
that's a
scale
low
to.
chance of it though.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You see what I'm
Sure,
saying?
yeah, that works.
Because
Yeah,
yeah, they might only hit 5 every time, or they might accidentally hit that 15 mark.
yeah, I like that. I was just trying not to make it too OP, but yeah, yeah.
So what I would do is have it as, if we're going to go with all 3, for one attack of say fire, lightning, or ice is a 50% chance of hitting with at least one within a
Right.
6 meters around them entirely, encompassing them. So because it's 3 meters out, so that's a radius of a diameter of 6 meters. So it's 50% chance for one, 25% chance for two, and say like 15% chance for all 3
Yeah,
of them to activate. Or
I
even
like that.
better yet, make it
Or
10% chance for all 3 of them to activate. That way you're not going to be so OP in combat, because this is only for, actually let's make the range a little bit smaller. Make the diameter 3 meters, so it's 1.5 meters in front of you. So it's like was that like a foot and a half in front of you, so they have to be like right in front of you to take this damage, almost like a cloak spell.
I was literally going to
But it's
say
active at all times in combat, though.
we're basically making a permanent chaos cloak.
Yeah, as long as you're in combat, though. That way, if
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
not in combat, you can still walk into like cities and whatnot. That's
Yeah,
what I'm
I like
specifically
that.
saying in combat.
We're literally we just invented chaos cloak.
Basically. And what it does is 50% chance to get hit with one, 25% for two, 10% chance for all three. So it's not too OP because you're getting hit with either 15. If you do 5 times, what did I say? Times 10. So that's 15 times 10. That's 150 damage. No, yeah, 150 damage per second. That's if you get it every single second, though.
Yeah,
But you're more than likely going to be getting hit with 50 damage every second, more than likely by one of the three.
I just had an idea. Okay, so in Fable, where Fable 1, I think it's also in Fable 2, when you're using destruction spells, you can focus it around you, area of effect, or you can concentrate it and direct it at an enemy. So you give up the cloak, but you have the option to target it at an enemy.
How about
What
this?
happened?
No, I'm listening. I'm listening.
What,
So
what
hear
happened
me.
with this person that got banned?
They wanted to offer a promotion of my channel for viewers, followers, views, or chat bots. Blah blah
Oh,
blah.
I'm sorry. I was not paying attention.
Oh no, it was an automat thing. I saw it pop up.
Okay.
So how about this? Instead of it being either or cloak or like range, how about for every spell you use, whenever you cast a spell that is a range spell, has a chance of applying an additional fire, additional ice, or additional lightning on top of that damage that you're already doing.
Yeah, I like that. Chance to become chaotic, basically.
Uh-huh. So all of your magic will
That's cool.
always be chaotic as long as it's under destruction. All of your spells will be that chance of chaos damage
Yeah,
happening.
I really like that actually.
So say if you do flames, that's a concentration spell. You have a 50% chance of doing additional flames on top of your flames already. So I think
And
flames does like 6 damage per second. It'll do 12 damage per second, but it's a random chance. But it could also do flames, 6 damage, plus 6 frost damage. Because
yes,
chaos damage. And
and a
same for
15% chance to
shocks or
do.
sparks.
Yeah, I like that a lot. It'll be the chaos effect with
Mm-hmm.
the diminishing chance of the various effects whenever you use rank, targeted attacks. I like that a lot.
So the other thing is, say if you get that random chance you get all three of them, right? That 10% chance you get all three, and you're using
Mm-hmm.
flames. You're already doing flames, but an additional flames, frostbite, and sparks all at once. So you're literally doing 3 spells, or technically 4 spells, all at once because of your chaotic magic and your chaotic nature to magic.
Yeah, I like that. Um, Also, what can we take a look at the time? I think that um,
2:48,
it may.
2 hours and 48 minutes.
No, I meant it's like 10:10.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you wanted to maybe start wrapping up so that you can do your own stream
Shit. Yeah,
in a
yeah,
bit.
yeah. Thank you for that reminder. Um, so did you want to wrap up now? Like, did you have any
Yeah, I
like
think this is a good
anything else
point.
for
I
the
think we
Altmer,
accomplished.
or are we good on Altmer being the
I
Chaos
think I
Mage?
think no, I think we came up. I think we did a lot with Altmer. I think we accomplished a lot. I really enjoyed the discussion, and I appreciate everybody that participated in chat as well. And I think, yeah, next time we can finish off the races and get into the guilds.
I like that idea. Do the other 5. Hold on. We did Argonian, Khajiit, Nord, Orc, Altmer. We can literally do the other 5.
Nice.
It works out so well. It just
Nice.
works.
And I
It
think
just
that
fucking works.
I'm not saying that guaranteed, but there's a possibility that you and I might like maybe not the next podcast, but maybe the following podcast we'll have finally enough experience.
It just works.
Starfield to maybe mention a thing or two, but yeah, I think holding off for now is smart.
I feel like at least until we get me personally, I feel like maybe next year if we want to incorporate like Starfield or whatever, that way it gives us what are we in? September. So October, November, December. It gives us 3 more months to log some more hours into god damn it. My brain went to log date. To log more hours into Starfield, and I feel like by then 3 months of playing it should give us enough time to like really
Yeah.
get to know Starfield and some of the eccentricities. I don't know how to say that word.
Eccentricities.
Eccentricities? I thought it was
Eccentricities.
eccentricities. Oh,
Yeah.
I've been
comes from
saying that word
gaming.
wrong all the time. But yeah, it'll give us a chance to learn like the ins and outs of, since I can't say the word, ins and outs of Starfield and whatnot.
Yeah. And you know what? You know what day we could try to do it is my birthday is January 7th. So if you want to do a stream that a podcast that day, that'd be cool. Kind of a
If I don't
birthday.
have to work,
Oh, of
sure.
course. My bad.
Oh no. I'm not saying no to the idea. It's just with work, I don't know how it's gonna work out. So that's what I'm saying. At least for right now. Yes, for
Or
right now,
you know
unless
what?
work happens.
We could do a New Year's again if it works out. We could do a New Year's stream.
Mm, I don't see why not, but I feel like I like the other idea of doing it for your birthday. Like maybe we can do like our thoughts on Starfield, like as a review type thing, if you want.
Sure, sure. Kind of initial kind of first thoughts after 3 months in it.
Hey there, Vivi. Welcome in
Hey, Vivi, welcome in. We're just kind of wrapping up here.
for the podcast. That
Uh,
is.
I was gonna say yeah, and then you're gonna do your stream. So
But yeah. Uh, do you have any like closing statements that you would like to make or anything like that? Just head home from
no,
work.
I just it
Nice.
was a lot of fun, and I had a good time, and I think we came up with a lot of good ideas, and hopefully they incorporate at least some of them into some of our favorite games going forward.
Would be nice. Would very much be nice. Um, so with all of that out of the way, playable aliens. That's Starfield talk. We're since we don't know much about Starfield, like as a whole, we kind of kind of made an unwritten rule of that we won't talk about Starfield stuff at least until we have a little bit more hours logged into it, so that way we can actually do it justice. And uh, at least the initial idea was with Ian saying that on January 7th, his birthday, we could do either like a review, maybe a potential deep dive into like what we learned and what we know about Starfield. Ian?
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I'm sorry. I agree.
okay. Um, can I make one tiny suggestion?
Sure.
I know we usually do the podcast just the two of us. Do you think for that one we can incorporate insanity if he has the time? Incorporate insanity into it because of the simple fact he's clearly getting a lot of hours into it, and I feel like he
I
would
think that's
be a
a
bit of an expert
fantastic
by
idea.
then.
I would love that. Yep. I totally think that'd be great, and I really hope that we can work that out. Definitely.
I'm gonna definitely bring that idea to his attention at least, if not once, maybe a few times. Um, but yeah, I was thinking maybe we can incorporate him into the Starfield one if possible. But yeah, I would love to see playable aliens in Starfield. because they have New Game Plus. They could easily incorporate that you bumped uglies with an alien, you had an alien baby. We need that. We need a playable alien race.
I'm just gonna say, without spoiling anything, there are other elements to Starfield that I don't know that have been known to everyone yet, that I'm not gonna even remotely hint at. But I think by the time we get to January 7th, we'll both be in a position where we can talk better about things that Starfield has.
Oh no, that's what I'm saying. I would like to be able to have like more alien features, like physical features would be awesome. But enough Starfield talk, and I need to end this video. Um,
Yep.
just want to say thank you to all the people who decided to stop by, hang out, chill. Thank you, Fog Owl, for the follow. I don't know why it didn't give you a notification saying that you followed. That was weird. Thank you, Gene, for the 15 Tiggle bitties. And thank you again to everybody that was able to stop by and just like hang out, chill, chat, and everything. Just want to say again, thank you so very much. I love each and every one of you beautiful souls. Sorry I'm boring you, Ian. I kid. I heard you yawn. That's why I was making a joke.
I'm sorry.
No, you're
Keep
good. I'm
sweet.
just making jokes. Just making jokes. Because you already know me. I like to bring levity to any situation. But yeah. Thank you again for stopping by, hanging out, chilling, showing us some love on this podcast. I need to drink something real quick after I do this. But I would like to say a special shout out to Ian for helping me with these last few podcasts, helping me with some of the knowledge that I don't know of the Elder Scroll games like Morrowind and Oblivion. That knowledge is very much needed and very much helpful, along with the help from Dragon Age information and knowledge. I greatly appreciate it. He's probably blushing right now, but I do greatly appreciate it, and I do want to say a special thank you to you. And I will try to remember to put a um, link to your Twitch channel in the Discord. If I don't, remind me, and I will damn for sure put it in there. I'll try to put it on the other two podcasts and any other podcasts that we do in the future and past, which is the other two. But yeah, I just want to say thank you for that. And
My
without
pleasure.
further ado, huh?
I was saying it's my pleasure.
Without further ado, have a wonderful day and a night. Hope to see all of you beautiful souls in the next one. And no matter what anyone tells you, you are valid and you matter. I hope to see all of you beautiful souls in the next one. Have a wonderful day and a night, because time zones are a bitch. And peace and aloha.